Hello everybody on YouTube watching this at some indeterminate point in the future, probably like 6 months from now, when I finally get catch up to how far I'm increasingly getting behind with publishing the VODs for these. So hello YouTuber from the future or from the past, I don't know, it's time difference. This is Feedback Friday number something or other. We take games made by you, or not literally, I've done that joke a million times, by you, and we play them. I try and give intelligent feedback on them, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole idea. We've got 8 games lined up today to play. The conditions are that those games are made by you, or you have permission from your teammates. They're free for me to play, like either you're giving me a key, some backdoor access, or the game is just free. And it's playable on PC. There's no point me trying to whip out a phone and be like, oh, this game is real good, guys. I hope you can all see it. Obviously it doesn't really work. And also local multiplayer things probably don't really work either unless they have a significant and meaningful single-player component. Anyone can submit, assuming they show up for the stream. Showing up for the stream is the hard part, because I stream at an awkward time in the middle of the working day for most people. Or at least for people in the UK, or very early in the morning, I think, if you're over in the States. Or whatever other time it might be. It'll be a convenient time for someone somewhere in the world, I guess. Enough so that some people are actually here submitting. But generally I try and do these streams they start somewhere between 1 and 2, sometime between 1 and 3 on a Friday. And we go for a bunch of hours after that. A number of hours you can see just by checking the timeline in the video below. So you show up for one of those streams on a Friday. It's not every Friday as well. So that's the extra puzzle. You've got to like, it's just a roulette. I might be here, I might not. Subscribe today! Anyway. But we're here today. We're doing it today. Sometimes we do development live streams and other things, so usually you'll get something. Last week you got nothing, but 99% of Fridays you get something. But yeah, as Captain Blade says, you kind of have to play a bit of a game of Schrodinger's stream. But to get started, first game we're going to play today, I'm going to turn off my chill hop music first of all. Then we're going to download the game Distort from SuperGamersGames. It's allegedly a platformer that restarts before you finish it. I've played this before, I'm sure. I recognize this. Definitely played this before. I don't remember what I said about it, if anything. Video games, save. Yeah, in fact, we're literally replacing as if, so we've definitely played this before. But hopefully it has... Wait, you don't even remember? Well, what good is this? Submitted it and I've played it before. Were you not there? How do you forget something like that? Alright. Well, I feel like maybe you should look up the bottom. Maybe we should skip this one then, because we played it before. I don't know which one it's in. But let me try and load it up and I'll try and remember what I said so I can remind you what I said. Effects are cool. I like the palette, works out well. You got some rotating stuff, but it's fine. I think it works with the size and the scale and scope of things you've gone for. Right, I remember now. The level restarts and slowly builds up, like, one thingy at a time. I think I remember saying eventually it got to the point where it was just a lot of, like, timing mechanics over and over. It gets quite tricky as well, if I remember. Yeah, I think it got to the point where it's like, it was, like, interesting and developing a little, but then, like, it eventually reaches a point where it's just like, now do that again, but more. I think that was my biggest criticism of it at the time. 'Cause, like, I think it got to the point where it's like, it was, like, interesting and developing a little, but then, like, it eventually reaches a point where it's just like, now do that again, but more. I think that was my biggest criticism of it at the time. 'Cause, like, I think it got to the point where it's like, it was, like, interesting and developing a little, but then, like, it eventually reaches a point where it's like, now do that again, but more. I think that was my biggest criticism of it at the time. Which, to be fair, almost every game eventually reaches that point because you can't just be interesting forever. Sadly, there is no game that will just remain novel and interesting literally forever, as hard as we might try. Oh god, it's actually going on the screen. Oh, you can't even jump on those guys. Yeah, you got the idea. And it was good. I enjoyed it. But I'm not going to spend more time on it because we've literally already played it before. It's entertaining that you completely forgot. Did I end up beating it? Probably not. But if you want to know what I think about that game, go look at when I played it. We already played it. I mean, I don't mind people resubmitting games that I played before, assuming that they've changed them, which is what I was assuming until you said, like, wait, you already played it? Which gives away that you haven't changed it and you were just resubmitting. Without realizing it, admittedly. Okay, so what's this? This is a game called Lucid from Tyeishing, an esoteric 2D platformer where we shall dance with the gods. Should we watch the trailer? We gonna watch the trailer? Very melancholy. Gosh. Might not be who. What is that? Like a surgical instrument? Some stuff. Vintage art slideshow for your TV. 1 hour of 4K HD paintings? Wow. YouTube, man, full of wonders. Anyway. Let's get the zipperoo. 202. Great English megabyte. How much of that is like audio? It almost always is. Oh, sorry, PrettyFrenchMan. I normally would, but I was just sort of going over quickly that game because we'd already played it before, so I just I downloaded it, so I figured it was worth just sort of playing and like talking a little bit about what I thought before. But that wasn't that was not a good example of like what no feedback Friday playthrough looked like. That's so funny though. I can't believe you forgot. I mean, I suppose we played quite a few of your games, so I guess once you played multiple games, you might forget individual ones. Okay. Parables of the Übermensch. What was that, like Superman or something in German? So it definitely has a style. Handy to move down or space sprint W to jump, gamepad's recommended. The first thing I want to say, and like I don't like to be too like super quick in here because like I might immediately stumble into some reasons why actually it was a good idea. But like with that text, I don't think you really needed the really slow scroll at the start there. I get like it's like you feel like it's a pacing thing, And why this is probably going to go on for an uncomfortably long time now, isn't it, as well? Light vibe I got from the trailer. Okay. To full screen, oh. True full screen. Oh, we'll leave it in windowed full screen, actually. It's OPS. Might prefer it. A moving platform? In this economy? What's this? Falling platform. Which is cool, because falling platforms are much easier to make than vertically lifting platforms. At least until the player is beneath them for some reason. Nah. Oh, did I get caught between it? See, this is why like long pacing can be a bit awkward, or one of the reasons. Especially if you don't checkpoint things, because then I die and I have to do this really slow kind of walk from the start again. I can tell why, even from the trailer and the aesthetic and stuff so far, you're trying to... You're going for a slow pace, which is fine. But comes with the cost of being slow, right? Oh, Matt, why do you even do that? You can sprint though? Space. Probably have actually read the text. Which I know is like, you know, my fault for being an idiot, but you can also like split those instructions out. So you tell the player the thing they need to know at each point in time. So I'm only focusing on one thing. I only needed to know how to move at the start. In fact, you could argue I'd work that stuff out. You could argue you only really had to tell me like the things that are left intuitive, like the sprint, the jump, and so on. Bed reached, I'm guessing that's my checkpoints. Is there a reason I would not want to be sprinting? I kind of like that instant cut, weirdly. What? Are those like arms? Like a Geiger counter sound? I need to turn my audio up for you guys. Yeah, actually, like, yeah, there's like a lot of... It's kind of actually jarring, like, the amount of this is just like a box. And like, this like super smooth, like walk animation. And the running speed as well, it's like... It's interesting, because like, you have to like find the line with some of these things of like, what's intentional, what's just the best they could do, and so on. And this stands out to me as interesting. It's not a criticism per se, it's just interesting, I think. It's just, you know, after seeing so many of these games, like you've gone to make the character, and I feel like originally you wanted to make him look a lot, or a bit fancier than this. And so you spent like, okay, we need to start somewhere with animating. Let's start with the legs, and you spent a really long time on those legs and the leg animation and the cycle, but just getting the basic shapes to look right or whatever. But then you did those, and you're like, whoa, that was exhausting, and that took ages. The rest, oh, that looks alright, we'll just leave that how it is. So the problem with spending too much time on anything like that is that then it becomes jarring next to the things that you haven't spent that time on. The more fidelity you add in one place, suddenly, like, like you lift the bar for everything else. Some of you might be wondering, like, why aren't you pointing out the Mexels? Because, like, they're there, obviously. You've got, like, different sized. These are a different size to these. But honestly, with this, like, eclectic style, it, like, it doesn't really matter. I still think it would look better, personally, if they weren't there, but it's much more of a taste thing at that point. I mean, it's always a taste thing, really, obviously, but, like, it doesn't matter as much. So, gameplay-wise, I have some issue with, like, the way the arms and stuff work. Like, the collisions aren't super clear, and they're all spinny, and it's not really clear when I'm gonna get hit and when I'm gonna get not hit. You know, I read that sentence, and I was just like, oh, hey, that reminds me of all that stupid nonsense in our Discord the other day. And then I looked away, and then I was like, wait a minute, who wrote that? Let's check the name of who wrote that. Yeah, Milner32, alright. Oh, I thought for some reason that would be a bouncy thing. It was not. So my thumb is getting a little tired of holding the space key because there's not really been a good reason for me to ever not sprint. As much as this effect is pretty. I mean, as much as pretty means in a game like this. Yeah, don't draw attention to the mixling though. Don't go overboard with it, in my opinion. I don't know, unless that's just part of the aesthetic you wanted. It's kind of always hard to tell and hard to draw the line with these kind of things. Bed reached. It's hard to see. That navy is not a good color against the dark color. Unless that's what you wanted, I don't know. Yeah. I kind of like that, actually. That was a fun little thing. The bouncing diamonds and you're bouncing as well. Place to walk, yeah, that'd be alright. But then again, that assumes also that there's going to be a reason to walk. What is this? This looks like some sort of like surgeon's tool or something, right? What? I've no idea what's going on with the story. I don't know if that's... Whoa. Okay. Those are times? Wait, is that today? It is today. That is now. I'm reading the system clock. So, you would like to play Castlevania? That's kind of cool. I kind of like it as like a gotta go fast like thing where like just like it all adds up quite cleanly as long as you just like never stop jumping or never stop running even. There's some interesting little experiments there. That one you have to think about a little bit more. Ah. Okay. The parable is of many things. I like these skulls. They're drawn at a different resolution to everything else. Like, I know that can be part of it, but I'm not sure I even like that as part of the eclectic style of like a mishmash of stuff, just every now and again things being even lower res. I think you should be like, use this res at a minimum, I think, and then make everything else fit around it. But I just think it'd be just a little bit more coherent, and I know it's like, well, incoherence is sort of a part of it. But like, there are degrees, you know? And you're always kind of fighting a battle there with like, making it look like... You kind of want people to at least feel like you did it on purpose, you know? Whereas a lot of this stuff like really does straddle that line of like, is this intentionally like this, or is it because that this is just what the person is capable of technically, you know? A good comparison there that I always make is the game Lisa, like the art style of it, Lisa the Painful RPG, I think it's called. That's a game that has like quote-unquote bad art that like is very intentional and done by someone who kind of very clearly have a style and a vision in mind and knows what they're doing. And then you look at something like maybe certain parts of Undertale, like a lot of Undertale I think looks great, but there's definitely parts of it that are just like, well, these are the limitations of the artist. Like it's not just trying to do it, like it works well with its tone in the end of the day, but like some of it is clearly just not that good because of the lack of technical stuff. That was tricky. Yeah, it's honestly like, if you're new to pixel art, the first thing I would do is just always make sure you're always drawing everything at the same resolution. It's tricky because sometimes you'll commit to a resolution, and then like, yeah, because when you get to a level like this, it really conjures up that vibe of my first game. Which, like, can be an intentional vibe that you want to go for, but I'm not convinced from the music and the aesthetic and the text and stuff that actually that's what you wanted here. So the first thing to do when you're new to pixel art, even if you're going for like, your art doesn't have to be good, but it just has to be coherent to a style, you know? And the quickest way to make a coherent style with pixel art is just make all your pixels, or the way to start with it at least, is just make all your pixels the same size, you know? So doing different gameplay elements have different pixel sizes. You know, the player is one size, but some things they collide with have different pixel sizes. It starts to be confusing from a player's perspective, because I'm just like, what layer are these things on? Are these meant to look like they're a bit in front of the player or something? There's some quite cool little like just basic level design ideas in here. Just in terms of making like a little action platformer of stuff that's, you know, stuff that are like lots of little mechanics that affect your movement, momentum, and that kind of thing. What is this about? I'm sure I even want to know. Well, this gives me reminds me of the kind of chessboard world in Battletoads. Always reaching bed. Because, I mean, I won't lie, with all the text and stuff like that, if the game was trying to say something to me, I don't know any of what it is. I always lean, like, I feel like a lot of people might call a game like this pretentious. I always lean away from doing that, because I don't know. I don't like that assumption. I don't want to assume that you had nothing that you wanted to say. I'd rather just say that it didn't work. Like, it didn't come across to me, you know? Ooh. It's very fever dreamy, which is, God, this might make some people ill. I like this a lot as just an experiment, and you learning a lot of. You probably learned a ton of things just in the creation of this game. Also, the level design is a bit sort of early on. Like, it's gotten better actually. Early on, it was a lot of just sort of meandering and a lot of stuff that looked like it was just sort of there for no reason. But here, it feels like we're thinking a little bit more about the story of each moment. You know, what the player is going to be doing when, and they're nice linear left to right levels as well. Nah. Which is very good if you want to tell some kind of story as well. I like the background a lot as well. And just this level has had a theming. It's mostly been the foreground collidable assets that are like really small pixel size that have just sort of blurred away and like been hard to tie to the theme of the level. And the biggest vibe I get from this is somebody just having a great time learning how to make a platformer, and just like every kind of little idea they might come up with. You know, oh, what about platforms that like disappear and reappear and timing, and what about things that like make you move fast and things like that. I think my main advice to you after playing this would be like, if you're still having a lot of fun working on it and you just really enjoy the natural process of working on it, keep going and everything. But if it were me, I would rapidly want to just like move on, because I reckon you've probably at this point learned all you're going to learn from making this. So I talked a little bit about this in a talk and I was talking about how I made a talk for a school recently, and I was talking about, I read a book called The Art of Game Design a long time ago, or half of that book anyway, by Jesse Shell, and oh god, my message is nothing. Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting. He said a long time ago, like, he made a distinction that stuck with me for a long time, of like what games are made of. Like the 4 things that make up games, just quite in a very simple way, just breaking down how there are 4 like lenses through which to look at a game. And there's like the mechanics lens, like, you know, all the stuff you do in the game, you know, just all the platforming and stuff we've got going on here. There's the aesthetic lens, just like what everything looked like, sounds and all the stuff like that, and the sort of visual, the feedback in general coming from the game. The narrative lens, not necessarily always just meaning the written words on the screen or anything like that, but just generally the story, the experience that you're being shown, and the technology lens as well, just for things like the engine and stuff like that, and things like the technical limitations, but also the spectrum of possibility that it entails. And every designer, a lot of designers, myself included, used to fall into a camp of being very mechanics first designers. Ooh, okay. Huh? That's cute. Who like think, oh, the mechanics are the most important thing. And from that perspective, this game is like a mash of loads of stuff. It's kind of just a shotgun of ideas, but none of them are particularly bad. Some of them are a bit dodgily executed in terms of collisions, or they were early on, but that's actually gotten a bit better in these later levels. From a narrative lens, I just have no idea what's going on. From an aesthetic lens, it works, but it has no synergy with anything, so I don't know what any of it means. It doesn't really... I'm not able to connect it through that narrative lens. And this is the important thing about those 4 lenses, is that generally with a game, to make a good game, from my perspective at least, those things kind of all have to work together. You know, your mechanics lens, your narrative, your aesthetic, and your technology. You want them all to fit together, right? Yeah. Oh god. There's a big nuke falling. This is kind of a cool, like, in a vacuum, this is pretty cool. Like, it's really tense and, like, I like that there's, like, not really any music, it's just this one siren sound and a slow falling huge bomb. And you're just sort of running through a level. Oh my god. When you die, actually, like, and the thing just goes back to normal, that actually kind of kicks you out of it a little bit. Lack of a death transition in general is always a pain. So just something that can happen when you die is always a good idea. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, about the synergy between mechanics, aesthetic, technology, and narrative. Individually, there's things I can praise in each one of those in this. Like, as I was just saying with the mechanics, and also, like, I think the aesthetic, like, works sometimes. The narrative I'm not really getting at all. And because of that, and because I can't really draw much connection between narrative and aesthetic in this game, and I can't really draw much I can't draw any connection with mechanic and narrative in this game. I can't draw any connection with mechanic and even aesthetic in this game either, because like the eye is just like so just functional for the most part. And the technology has only been utilized at the barest of levels. So those 4 lenses, while individually each one is doing things that are in and of themselves fine, they're not really working together very well in this game. I hope that makes sense, or some kind of sense. It was a very useful way for me to look at games when I was sort of getting started trying to learn how to design things better. God damn it, I was right there. It was a really useful lens, and I haven't spoken much about it on Pre-Black Fridays, but I think it's actually a very useful way to frame things. It's like trying to find that synergy in between things. Like, you know, what are all these mechanics? What are all that jumping and stuff that's going on have anything to do with your story or anything? Here, it actually does. Like, you know, you've got a mechanic, you've got a timer until an impact that happens, right? That's part of the story. There's a timer. Oh, wow. Did it just go off? You've got a time until something happens. That's just scary. So the mechanics are you've got to rush. The mechanics and the narrative are doing a thing together there. The aesthetic is doing a thing here as well. because it's showing a bomb just slowly falling in the distance, like, and the slowness, like, and the just lack of music and just this like lone siren. All these people weirdly just stood around smoking like nothing is actually going wrong. God, right, this level's really hard, but this is the best level, and this is why, because like all you see how those three things are working together to create an experience. Whereas in all the other levels, like there's just been like I've either been just talking about a mechanic, or we've just been trying to be like, well, what the hell is going on with the story, or like we've just been talking about the art and stuff. This is the first time where we can talk about how all three of those things are doing something together. And that's always that I think. That the vast majority of the time, that's really what you want. I think I'm going to leave it here because I don't think I'm going to make this. I think it's too hard. Yeah. But we'll give it... Oh, you can't... I've been jumping over those guys and you can just run through them. Alright, we'll give it one last honest try. Don't think I should have slowed down. Oh. They look weird and intimidating, so I didn't want to touch them. No, we did it. Definitely about the terrorism. God damn it. Because that's jarring as well with like any kind of like cool aesthetic or mood or whatever I'm settling into. It's generally instantly ruined the moment I fail a jump and just instant like jarring early video game restart with no transition, you know? Cute. Oh, I see. Anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it there anyway. I think I don't need to keep moving on. We've got a lot of games to play. But yeah, I think I said everything about that. I don't know how to sum that up. But I'm gonna try and use that lens a little bit more as a way to look at some of these things. It's just how those things working together, because I think that's the key problem a lot of beginner games have, where they otherwise seem like they should be working, but like just sort of aren't. Dance with the Gods, that's what we were meant to be doing. Anyway, Sademan99 gives us Eyes of the Machine. Platform game sent you a few months ago, has been reworked. Okay. Robo Shooter test demo. 62 megabytes. Yeah, I bet all 200 megabytes of that last thing was just like, just audio. What's this? Today I might just play around with code without following the tutorial, but you're nervous. Good luck! I'm nervous about what? You know, like, no one's watching. Like, what's gonna happen? It's not gonna work? Oh well. Look up a thing. Ask someone why it doesn't work. Perfectionism can be rough. Oh yeah, I kind of remember this. Can't remember what I had to say about it. I'm a sucker for this style of menu, like where it's just like you're actually in the game and with doors and you go through them to do things. I think though, unless it uses some new mechanic that can just feel a bit like an awkward menu. Do I have some stuff saved from before or something, or is this just what you always like start this with? Who made this game again? Say it, man. I feel like it had no sound before. He aims a gun up when I look up, so I'm guessing he's gonna have a gun. Old J. J's alright, actually. It's quite close to your WASD keys. But, something to note here, though. Nice enough for you to tell me trust J to shoot. What if I didn't know how to move? Now, you might be thinking, Shaun, you literally just said you didn't need to tell someone how to move, and people would work that out. No, because the thing with the other game is the arrow keys worked as well, I think. I think they did. I feel like I would have tried that. Whereas, I'm a hot MLG gamer, so I can put my hands on the WASD keys and be like, yeah, in the groove, let's start gaming. But, like, most people are just going to see a character on the screen, and they've got a giant keyboard in front of them. Oh, but how to make the guy move? They probably know that he can move, and one of these buttons makes him move. But they don't know that it's going to be WASD. And the most obvious thing will be these arrows on the keyboard. But they do nothing. Nothing at all. Now, I'm not saying, oh, use the arrow keys instead of WASD. Use both. Use both. You can just be like, all you have to do is like, be like, key left equals whether or not the left arrow key has been pressed, or the A key has been pressed, or just like, you know, or put two key variables that you can rebind later in, whatever. It's made for the people who know basics of platformers. I know, but it's like, what's the harm? You know, what's the cost to you to be like, okay, and it works on arrow keys as well, and therefore if you weren't familiar with that, now you know how to play. There you go, just expanded the player base like 1,000,000-fold with like no effort. You know? I'm not saying it has to do that, or like this is like a criminal mistake to not do that. But it's just like, you know, what do you have to lose? Huh? Yeah, and you got weirdos like Milner who like presses W and A up. Arrow keys for down and right. I don't know if you're joking as well, Milner. Like, earnest, like, that reads a bit like a Milner joke. But I'm not 100% sure. It also reads like a Milner serious. And French keyboards as well, you know, like, it's worth thinking about. It's worth it. It's worth it because it's so low effort for what you can gain. I mean, it's not like, you didn't do this, but it's like, why not, you know? Why not? Pay attention to the enemy's counter. The higher the counter gets, the better orbs and gears you'll get. Right, I should shut up and actually, like, pay attention to anything that's going on. Enemy's counter. If you run out of energy, you will move slower, you won't be able to shoot for a while. No, but it does just sort of recharge. I feel like I commented on this last time or something. I feel like, I think maybe I suggested making it recharge. I don't remember. I feel like maybe you had to actually collect some stuff or whatever, and it was... Well, I don't remember. I don't remember how it used to work. So all I can really do is comment from a fresh lens. So what's going to control how high the counter gets? Just how long I hit something for? I mean, it's always going to be the same, right? Unless just hitting it with higher energy bullets is going to drive it up faster. Is there a way to kill it? So it just sort of rewards making sure you kill it in one burst, I guess? Is that what you wanted to do there? Talk me through it, I'm interested. Like, what was the motivation behind that? not saying it's bad, just wanted to, I'm just curious as to what. Yeah, it goes without saying, of course, it's very pretty. It was very pretty when we played it the first time. Very pretty now. I think with, like, when you're going this hard on the retro style, I think maybe avoid the code-based squashes and stuff, because you can see it's not quite at resolution. Like, you maybe want to hard bake that stuff into your animations to be real, if you want to be really true to the style. It's a big deal. Like the rotated effects and stuff like that. It's just normally not too bad in this kind of game, and it's usually worth it in my opinion, just to have the effects in whichever way. Like, it'd rather have them than not, right? But here it's like, it's so retro that I feel like you kind of want to commit to that. Yeah, it did feel like, yeah, that something was off with the man as well. Oh, okay. That's very Jazz Jackrabbit-esque there, I like it. Don't know why I'm murdering all the birds for no reason. Something definitely feels different with the energy mechanics. I just remember having, oh, maybe, I remember running out of energy here, but then I just ran out again, so I don't know. There's a whole idea with the energy just to give you kind of a reason to not shoot now and again. So it was kind of like a little just frustrating, just this. I probably didn't mention this last time, but like, the height of your character being just higher than one block and having to shoot through 2 blocks. Like, you just have to, it's just a little unsatisfying, you know? Yeah, I think, yeah, you used to have to recharge it manually, right? I think that was maybe something I said, was just like, yeah, just let it recharge over time. I think it feels better. It feels better than what I remember. And also when you're low on that, you like move slower or something. It feels like a narrative conceit in a way, I guess. 'Cause it's just like he's a robot and he's running low on power. And that's interesting, I suppose, because like maybe later in the game, maybe the power does other things as well, and it's just managing this one core resource. It's kind of cool. It's got potential. The main thing it does here is just say, don't hold down the shoot key forever, right? Which is worthwhile. That's worthwhile to have. Well, this doesn't zoom in on the game. Dude, I love the zoom in, man. I just do it because I can. How do we deal with this, then? Oh, yeah. Oh, has anything told us about this? Just sort of discovered it, but... I may have missed a signpost, I'll grant. But... quite a risk you've taken with this section. That's a big risk. That's cool! I mean, it's a fun moment. And obviously discovering things by yourself is fun. As long as you acknowledge that that bit of level design, with nothing that tells you about that, is an enormous risk. You will lose players by the droves at this bit. If that's what you had, I mean, unless I'm missing something else you could do to get over there, etc. I would definitely have done something to teach the player the existence of that before then. Maybe even have that be an unlock that you just got there or something like now shooting down causes this to happen, so the player is actively thinking about it. There's a million and one thing. I don't want to get too into specifics. I'm just saying, be careful. You want to restrict things that the player is thinking about. You want to. The trouble there is this only gets you a little bit more height as well. Like gets you just a little bit more height and distance, which is frustrating because for you as a designer, because it means that the level design that you create for a gap that requires that is only just out of reach of a regular jump. So it means the player is going to see those jumps and be like, oh, it looks like I can just make it. Maybe I'm just getting the jump slightly wrong. So they're going to try it again and again and again and again. Because they think they're just, I'm so close to reaching, you know? Whereas it's usually like, if you've got something that you need to do a mechanical thing for, you want to make it as clear as possible that you need to do something else beyond what you've currently learned, right? So when you're making a pit that the player needs to get across with some new mechanic, you want to make it obviously too big for the, for what you basically have. It's tricky as well. I know having written myself sometimes, like it's tricky with bullet hover stuff to make it like to control the distance well without making it suddenly like you're able to fly. Different weapons with different knockback. I want to create progression where first method might be a bit weaker. Okay. But, you know, everything comes with its costs, right? Oh, man. So these guys having different movement patterns and stuff is starting to make the whole combo system make a bit more sense. Yeah, that auto recharge is way better, I think. Yeah. I like those frog enemies. But I am just going to ignore them. That's always cool, just doing something to show the exact path of a moving platform. Like, it's not super necessary, but like, a nice touch. There's a few leap of faithy moments there, like, you see how I just sort of hooked left to land on that platform, because like I couldn't see what the ground was below me here, and like, I was like, well, what if that's a bunch of spikes? Luckily you were nice enough to sort of, maybe you know I couldn't see down there, so you made sure it wasn't spike. And eventually maybe I'll just come to a point where I trust your level design as I play, and I'm like, okay, even when there's a leap of fate, I know it's not going to be bad for me. I just go for it. But there's a natural tension in just like, oh, I can't see what's down there. Chargy wargy. Ah, I missed a thing! That's cool. Like, seeing it as I fell, I was like, oh. Frustrating that there's no way for me to go back and get it other than like playing the game through again. But it does at least like imply like, if you ever play the game again, maybe see what nothing was. Oh, that reeked of secret wall there. Running out of life. These frogs are brutal, man. Anything with an arc, man. What is it with enemies that have arcs? From Medusa heads to just anything that goes in like an arc is just the most frustrating enemy ever to fight. I suppose it's because usually in those games you also fire in straight line. Putting a thing like that above you so you can drop down away from its shots the first time you see it is good as well. It'd be kind of cool if in some way you could see it shoot ahead of time, but having a big obvious gun works as well. So it's okay now that we've had to learn it at this point, so we know we can get a little bit of extra height. But again, it is so tricky, like, because it's just like, oh, I just can't, I just can't make it. Can I, oh, look at that, oh, what's that other, okay, okay, you know? F. It's really pretty. I think you take, yeah, so I think that thing with the way you introduce that this thing is extremely risky. But I love the aesthetic of it generally. I think it feels way better with the recharging stuff. You said there's more weapons and stuff in it later. I don't think I'm gonna get much further. We got other games to play. So it's hard for me to comment on all of the. Yeah, I can't comment on the full breadth of the game. Typically, the curse of this kind of format is I'm only ever really going to be talking about the first like 5-10 minutes of a game. But often those are the most important parts. There's a mini boss I can try out. How? Oh, pressing escape closes the entire game down. So that's probably an issue as well. It would be a menu or something. Well, we're gonna move on, I think. But thank you for that. I think it works a lot better with the new way the charging works. Level design is generally good. There's just like a few bits of just minor frustration. Mostly like with like I think the block, like the character being just higher than one block and the way you position blocks and stuff. It's not like very satisfying to shoot through. And given that all that moment is about is have some fun shooting through these blocks. Like there's no challenge there. It's just shoot through these blocks. It should be as rewarding and smooth as possible, right? Instead, it's actually jump and I'm out of thing, recharge. Okay, I keep shooting at the thing. Oh, I can't get under this one, and I'm just shooting under it. I need to jump. It just becomes annoying, and it's like at that point you may as well have had an empty corridor. But really, that and the shooting down, gaining height thing is the worst things in the level design, which is like a decent bar, really. So good job. That's the same game. Next up, we've got StarddustArtPlay, bringing us Domion Trinity Requiem. This is the game with the mouthful description. Domion Trinity Requiem. That does feel a little bit like you went on some sort of like game name generator. Just I plucked out 3 words. Oh, Domion, even, not Dominion. Domion? Oh, I don't know. Name of the character, maybe. We've got some coding support from ye olde pixelated Pope. $84 megabits. Alpha build version 0.0.2.3. I'm planning for a lot of iterations there. I like it. We're not even at the first major version yet. Or minor, or whatever you call the second one. Is there anything I need to know about? There's a lot of words. Do I need to know anything about that? This reminded me, actually. Let's think about that game we just played as well. From the same lens I was talking about the other one through, so like mechanics, narrative, aesthetic, technology, and how all those things working together. I think with the technology one, like, in a way, it's like, I think you limit the impact of your aesthetics by just like having some of the rotating and stretching and squashing. Not because those things are bad, in fact, those effects are very worth having, but I think you could maybe drive it further and drive the aesthetic theme and that retro feel further by having them be at resolution, like baked into the artwork maybe. Or actually just lowering the resolution of the game, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. Like it was very mechanics heavy, very aesthetic heavy. Narrative there was not really much of a story other than I'm going to the right. I'm not saying it needed a story. I'm not saying I needed some epic reason for why I'm this little machine going around blowing things up. But I feel like nothing in the game really communicated that anything was happening other than me just running through and shooting stuff. Which can be fine if that stuff is consistently like super interesting, because the interesting parts of it can be that narrative, the developing ways that you are jumping, moving around, and stuff like that. But nothing was really creating any kind of narrative. Like I don't want to say narrative again. I want to emphasize I'm not just talking story as such, but like just sense of progress. And I know you say, oh, there's other guns in the game, there's a mini boss and stuff like that, so maybe I just haven't gone far enough. But in that case, I would argue the pace is quite slow. Story is not implemented yet. Right, okay. I'm gonna try with all the games today to try and think through that lens of trying to synergize mechanics, aesthetic, narrative, technology. Just see where that takes us, because I think maybe it helps me frame useful criticism for things that otherwise, like, everything seems individually fine. Oh, this is the same game. What am I doing? Get help in fire. Alright, you don't need to burn me like that, Bing. Christ, what? Wait, which one? Oh, it's from Itch. Downloads. There it is. Extract all. Extract files. You recommend I play it with a controller? I gotta find that. One sec. Do I have to plug it in before starting the game? Missed that pack. What was it? Something alpha version, something. Some small stuff. Press F4. OBS. Summon the game. There we go. Oh, has that screwed the pixel art a little bit though? Yeah, that looks a lot cleaner in windowed mode. That is unfortunate. The text does anyway. Full rocket. I'll just try and remember that the text generally looks better. So there's a bit of a scaling issue when scaling up to this resolution, it would seem, with the text, your font, or whatever. Graphics are just windowed mode, windowed full screen. You planning more options in there? Otherwise you could just have that option be there. Rolls. Just here's what they are. I get that this is probably temporary, but I hate these screens. I hate screens that just show a picture of a controller and just like, here's what things do, out of any context. Learn all of them. But maybe the game will just teach me stuff. Maybe it doesn't matter. Play demo.
I still remember that day.
Here are some MMO friends.
Looking at him and asking myself, what are his feelings? What's on his mind? Does he know who I am? The answer is a deep silence that torments my thoughts. But that pain makes me move forward into the abyss of my life, into a journey I could never imagine in my darkest nightmare. As I stood there, I realized that no one of us has control over our fate. We are like piles of dust. When the wind comes, we're blown away.
Got a little bit of think issues with the text and the voice acting there. Beautiful environment art, right? Can I accidentally learn that right away? I'm guessing that was some sort of flashback. Isn't that a Pokemon? The thing that's next to me? Sure, that's a Pokemon. Press T or RT? Aren't they both? I don't know. Oh god. Discovering that probably before I should. What did R2? Oh right. Okay. Trying to tell, like, I don't know, personal taste maybe, but I like to try and detect what the player is actively using at any point and just show the relevant one. Harder to distinguish between controller types, obviously, although there is ways to do that. But like, at least between controller and keyboard. So if I ran up to this deck, you could just show Y. Or my favorite thing, do what the Switch games do sometimes and show like the little thing of 4 buttons and just like the top one highlighted. Since all controllers use like that same layout of face buttons. Oh, Y again, okay. I like your opening scene was kind of strong with the just some voice acting, just about some stuff that I didn't really have to read or pay too much attention to, and it was just kind of emotive and all the theme, and it wasn't actually going too deep into anything. Here there have been a lot of proper nouns, like a lot of like, oh, you're a Sequoia warrior, and paragraphs more than 3 lines long, and oh god, alright, that's telling me to swap the leader, I guess, okay. Just like, I need a care first. And then you can start to drip the thick lore on me. These animations are great though. That sound! That noise is great. The timing on that? Like, that's really good. Oh, the shadow gets smaller with height as well, even if it mixels things. Again, you could get it to not mixel things. Ah, Pixel FX design user. I know that fire. The wall jumping a little tricky because you actually have to hold into the wall. It's just a matter of getting used to, I guess. Not like hold you in place as well, it's cool. A little nervous around these spiky things, even though in the background it's not necessarily clear. It's not color coded or something. The attack looks great. I think the particle effects kind of ruin it. They just don't match. That's a bit weird, like the sounds don't... Oh, it's because that's the... I feel like it's just not as much effort in that. It just feels like, shoot an arrow. Whereas this guy, like, that's super strong. There's a very subtle, like, hue difference when my camera catches up between where your wall is, where your background is. Actually visually distinguishing this for my terrible old man eyes is hard. And I have no idea what's going on with this thing. What did that do? Heal me? I haven't even had to fight anything. What does this do? I guess use red squarey thing? How do I use that? Got a whole bunch of different bars. This is creating some kind of line. What do we do? Who made this? Stardust, what do I do? Stardust, save me. Go up the platform. Go up where? Oh, can I get up there? Can I get back up there? Oh, where's wall jumpy guys? What if I swapped away from this person before I learned that wall jumping was a thing? What, can I get that thing? Tab or LT to aim. Oh, okay. RT. Okay. You need an onboarding. You need, like, you can't dunk the player into 3 controllable characters like in the first few seconds of gameplay. Like, I haven't even had anything to hit with my cool sword yet. I can't even get up there, man. Someone else, do they jump different heights? Oh my god. That guy doesn't even jump, he just dash attack. Oh. How do I get? I can't even reach it. Can he wall jump? He did something there. Is that like a double jump? Oh, it like does, but only at certain... Just doesn't always work? Oh, stamina? There's a stamina. So what, I just have to stand still for like 8 years? Okay, I'll be right back while I regain my stamina, guy. Back. Okay, is that even enough to... Okay. So how was I to know that that character has a double jump? Does this character have a double jump? Man. Like, it's just out of reach as well, which is the same problem again, is that people will just keep trying. People will just think that maybe they're just doing it wrong. Like I was just doing, you know? Someone can probably go through this, right? No. Cloaking. Oh, of course! Oh. I'm gonna guess that one. Slime looks pretty, very shiny. Oh, so this is a lot at once, man. Just give me some dudes to smash early on, you know, and then like we can just slowly bring these things together. I get that this is like it's very early on, so I get that for the most part this is like, or I assume and or kind of hope that this is not in any way final level design and is like kind of just a shotgun of just like basically a sandboxy testing ground for all your stuff. And what's here is kind of like is cool. I'm not like criticizing the things themselves, but it's a very difficult experience for you to obviously just like hand to me and be like, "What do you think about this?" Because it's like it's such rough onboarding, and that stuff is so important. So I mean, there's your out. All you have to do is say, this is not final level design, and this whole area is just kind of a sandbox. It's cute. But like you've got some really cool technology going on here. You really now need to really start spending a lot of time thinking about your early level design. Like you want to scrap all of it. None of this is anywhere close to acceptable. Like, it's all too much. There's just a potion? There a potion? Like, none of these things are bad. All this looks, yeah, it looks crazy good. Oh yeah, I want to emphasize, it looks crazy good. These attacks look amazing. Like, that feels great to do. Admittedly, the later attacks are less good because they're all kind of a bit the same. You kind of hope that it develops a bit more, but that sound effect, I can't get over that. But then you've got just flash invisible mode. It's a bit like, which apparently makes you immune to fire. Okay, that was just a pickup. No, you did real a big text dump, but now no idea what's actually going on. Oh. You're a good weird insect. A Mackie. While I was walking around, I found this device that looks like a map. It's not so useful to me, maybe it's more useful to you. No, okay. It's one of these! Yeah, I suppose you could do that restraint, but I don't really mind it. Yeah, the background art is impeccable. But getting up here is gonna be rough. Oh, you just did it. I'm not keen on the rotated artwork though, personally. Oh, F. Oh, there was a heal button. I think there's so much has gone on that I'm not going to remember any of it. He told me the heal button at the start, so then what should have happened is we should have just had a whole corridor of just fighting enemies and stuff. Probably taking damage. And learning the heal thing. Right, it's just this one character. Maybe just disable the button to even swap between the characters. Perfectly, I mean, it's fine enough to just have a thing here. It's just like, oh yeah, a wall jump exists. Like, that's honestly the quickest way to teach a wall jump exists. Just have a big pillar that you obviously can't jump over, but there's no other way to go, right near the start. And it's like, well, you've got to be able to do something, so eventually you're going to try jumping into the walls and see if you're going to do something on the walls, and you can. I would personally like it more if it, like, it detected you were on the wall without having to, like, hold into the wall. It's a bit, just a bit finicky. But this whole, like branch down here, like, what even is this? And why does it look like the way you go, rather than, like, whatever. Oh yeah, I've got to swap back to this guy. Activate cloaking. Dash through here. Like, why is that open from below? It looks like maybe you could just... there's going to be something... That's why I was fiddling about down there, because it looked like where I'm stood now was where I was meant to get to, so it looked like that red thing could maybe get me up here somehow. Oh, each one has its own little Pokemon. Down arrow says down, so I'm going to keep going down. I know that's probably just there to teach me how this works, but... So what does this do? Anything? Oh. Look, it's got a little flashy thing on it. I should be able to do something with it, right? Can't just put a little arrow on something and not be able to do anything on it. Oh, is it? Oh, it recharges my health. Oh, that's what these do. Okay, so they charge up to whatever meter the color is. I think green was my health. And so this thing is in a wall here, so that implies that some part of that wall is either not real or can be destroyed in some way. That's good. That's a nice little design thingy. But that worries me into maybe thinking that this is anywhere close to what will pass for final level design. You want like a whole section where you play as one character, and then a section where you play as another character, then a section where you play as the third character, and then a section where you play as able to play as two characters, then a section where you can play as maybe a different two characters, then bring them all together. Like, you really have to stagger something like this out, because it's just too much otherwise, too much at once. Like, I can't, like, there's probably loads of cool possibilities. Maybe you can swap between characters mid-air. Oh no, you can't do that, okay. But there might be cool synergies or important things where you actually need to use both characters. I hope there are, otherwise, what a stupid system if it's just a binary on-off to solve the puzzle thing. I hope there's, like, I presume there's going to be some cool synergies or uses for that. Ah. I don't know where I'm gonna stop on. I don't know if there's some boss I'm gonna find or something. Yeah, despite how good the animation and stuff is on that, it's like just a little bit like awkward to use. Just the same with how the wall jumping is. The controls in general just feel just like a little bit, I don't know, sometimes too floaty and Feels a bit like just driving a truck a little bit in places. Not how I feel like it should feel. I feel like it should feel like fast and smooth and door locked. F. Ah! No, not like this. Ah. None of this looks good, like a good time. So slidey. I feel like I'm on ice always. God damn it. Alright, I think we'll leave it there. Lots of stuff going on here. None of it necessarily. I like a lot of it. I think it needs. You either need to scope down, or you need to seriously start focusing on level design and like doing any. Because there isn't any here. It's all just stuff all over the place. There was like one little moment of level design with that like hidden like treasure chest. And there's like, yeah, you've got like 3 old characters and stuff, and like, it feels like your design notebook come to life, like, with just so, there's so much. The art is amazing, the animations are great, the music's really nice, the technology is there as well, like it's coded well, and it all holds together very well, but the design elements of it are really weak. The abilities like are just seem so isolated at the moment, and it's because we're not that far in the game, so I can give you some like we don't know what happens with that sort later on, but they're just like isolated, just swap to this so that you have this other thing. That's like a core fundamental thing with it, but the level design doesn't teach you, and like you need to really reduce the pace with which this stuff gets introduced, and you need to actually introduce it. You know, there were some bits where you were like trying to show you bits, but it was just like constant one thing after another, or just like, oh, you press this to cloak, and the cloak gets you through the fire or whatever. At least you did that. At least you know when you get to the fire, it's like, oh, you press this, but oh, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. But like, why? Like, I have to swap to that character to even get that prompt, and like. It's not intuitive. Just I don't know. One of my characters just have a way to, you know what I mean. So like I say, the way like trying to, I don't like being specific. I say this all the time, but like one of the ways you could do this sort of thing is, as I said, you only play as one character at the beginning. Just remove the ability to swap between them. Then once you've had a bunch of like just a couple of screens, maybe even just one screen, of just hitting things and healing using those 2 things we taught me at the start. Then you can bring in the other character, and be like, oh, this character can do this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then you can only play as them maybe for that section. And then another thing, we can only play as the 3rd character. Then maybe bring in 2 and show what interesting things can happen as a result of having 2. If there are no interesting things that can happen as a result of having 2, you need to make some interesting things that can happen as a result of having 2. Otherwise, why do you have multiple characters that you can be? Otherwise, yeah, it's just kind of making 3 games. Yeah, it needs that. It needs a massive rethink on the level design and pacing and so on of pretty much everything. I like the way it opened, like that the narrative thing at the start, because like you don't know what's going on, you don't know who any of these characters are or why you should care about them, but you get the idea that like, oh, they remembered a time when they were sitting together and so on, and then things got bad and blah blah blah, and that was pretty much it. like, you know, some flowery language and so on, but it was like, it just set a mood and a tone. And then we just carried on, and then there was a character who just started talking to us in text, and it's like, you're the warrior or something, and then just like glaze over, you know? You set that mood, start giving me just little things, little reasons to care about stuff, and then you can build up into more of that, introducing those things slowly and steadily. It's your bottleneck at the moment, so it is what you need to focus on, because everything else is so good. Right here, but everything else is bottlenecked by me not being able to really get into it. Hang on. And the more of these things you implement, items and things that you can find and stuff like that, the more it's gonna get. You're gonna spread yourself thinner and thinner, and there's only so long you can keep up this excellent level of quality on everything else for, right? Either until you run out of skill or run out of money for whoever, maybe your teammates or whatever else, right? Yeah, this is I can't get over how beautiful it is. Like, the controls and stuff also aren't quite there, so there's some time you could spend working on that. It's okay to have a plan for your different areas and things like that, but I think you probably want to go back to just sort of whiteboxing stuff for a while. Get your level design worked out. Get a sandbox area in the game where you can just play around with the controls and just try and make it feel nice and smooth and solid. Be really sure about all your jump heights and stuff like that. Like how high every character is going to be able to reach and why. Be sure that everything is in your game is super necessary. Stamina bar, is it important? Because most of the time, you don't even consume that much. Like, how many of these do I have to do in a row before we even run out of stamina? Like, a lot, and then you, probably don't even notice, like me, that you're out of stamina, and it's just like, oh, why is the double jump not working anymore, you know? And then you just have to wait for ages to get it all back, right? So what does it add? In Dark Souls or whatever, the poster boy for stamina systems, the point of it is you can only do, a couple of things at a time, so you're really committed to whatever it is you decide to do. That's it, that's the whole idea. But no one seems to realize that that's the whole idea, and we all just keep putting stamina systems in our game. Because, in games that I like have stamina systems. But that's all it's there for. It's just to force you to think about the things that you do in critical moments, because Dark Souls is a game of critical moments, and deciding to do one thing and seeing the outcome of it. You can't just do a whole bunch of things at once. Here you can do plenty of things at once. You can do a whole bunch of swinging around, jumping, blah, 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 and not really the place for it, in my opinion. Yeah, so much wonderful here. It's from the if we take that lens again, you know, the aesthetic lens, it's wonderful, communicates a wonderful mood and atmosphere. The narrative lens is there. The technology, all that stuff is there. And the mechanics is just, it's not been thought about enough, and it's all so... It's been looked at in a quantity over quality way. It's like you've analysed what we need to do to make that mechanics lens shine, and it's just stuff. We need there to be lots of bars and things going on, and numbers, and abilities and things to do, and if we just have more, if we just have enough, that'll be it. But it doesn't synergize. It doesn't synergize with the mood or the themes or the atmosphere. It doesn't teach us anything with the story really. There's potential there with the characters swapping around their different stuff. That is getting in there, all right. But everything else is just more. So that's the lens that you need to focus on for this game, is mechanics and the fundamental game design stuff, right? You go back to basics with it. You need to go to the basics, introducing things, the pacing, and so on. I think everything else will be great. I think you're doing alright right now. In terms of the writing, I think when you approach that, try and think of it with a less is more perspective. I think that might help as well. But really, I think like this is so cool, which is why I'm spending ages talking about it, because it's got so much potential. And I just want to see, how do I quit this game now? I even for. But I want to see it break free of that bottleneck, which is just the onboarding and just all the game design like mechanics fundamentals for teaching the stuff. The stuff that's there is like fine and potentially really interesting. And like it reeks of enthusiasm, you know, like I feel like you could tell me each one of these characters' blood type, like their shoe size, their favorite color, you know, like I feel like you yeah. But I think you probably wanna temper that enthusiasm. There's no point me doing mobile demos because how would I show it? How would that work? Can we talk about level design more? What about it? Level design's a huge field. I can talk about it for hours and hours and hours, and I don't even know much. Right? I can talk about it forever, and I'm relatively inexperienced. like, like it's a huge field. Like I say, I just did for a school. I'm gonna check my email actually. I want to make sure they got it. Got the thing I sent. Oh, he's on annual leave apparently. No mind. But yeah, I literally just sent. I suppose I could send him. Oh my god, the person's gone on leave at the date I'm supposed to send them the talk. We'll do that after the stream. Stupid emails. I should never have looked. But yeah, I literally made like a 30-minute design talk for a school. I might actually put it on like Patreon and eventually on YouTube as well. Because there's some decent stuff in there where I just talked about like the level design theory of another perspective, which is different because it's a puzzle game and so on, but it's good because it's so simple and it's a good way of breaking all those things down. If we've got some time when I finish the stream, maybe I'll go over some of the things that I talked about in the video. Yeah, GameX took it. It does have a lot of cool stuff. Very, very worth watching, very worth researching. The thing with that stuff is though, it tends to be very specific, and it can be hard to learn the fundamentals of things from him. I suppose it's like it's Mark Brown stuff's really good for learning like very like specific genres, handling specific problems. Although I say that, it's not like there are that many generic problems or generic solutions to things, but in a way, I guess that's all design is. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that criticism has any weight at all. Next up, next game, Botanophobia, Nephilim 007. I would say yes, StarddustArtPlay, but like, and I love talking about this kind of thing, but I get all kinds of people who want to message me for stuff for Game Maker and things like that. Um, that I do it for my Patreon supporters of like the top rank. So like, I would feel bad just say like some random guy asks on my stream like, oh, can I like PM you on Discord about my game or whatever, like free of charge, is a bit like disrespectful to the people who are paying me money, and I grant that to them as a privilege, you know. Um, So I'll have to say no on that basis. Nephilim. Botanophobia, a narrative platformer looking for feedback of any kind to improve the player experience. Fair enough. Yeah, people say that every time Nom Nom Fighter, but I just think the odds are so low. Because who would do that and why? People who do that kind of thing are busy casting much wider nets than one dude on Twitch, you know? Most, because like making a Trojan is work and effort that you have to go to. Usually, you want to get something out of it. It's just some random Twitch streamer. Like you'd have to be particularly motivated. You'd have to like really hate me for some reason. I don't think I have that many enemies. New game. So I know it seems like really risky just opening up random EXCs I get sent, but you can kind of tell, like, you'd have to go to a lot of work to disguise it as well as a game, so you'd have to kind of know my stream fairly well and be able to create something that, like, looked like a game. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Might just be full screen, but I think this text is a little blurring a little for me. And the pixel sizes of it are different to the size of the artwork. But... in first class, drinking whiskey. Oh, I was reading first class like in a school, first class on the plane. More sense. Ruh-roh. I knew that was gonna happen. What was that picture of? Oh. Probably could have gone, like, with this style, you probably could have gone lower res than this, and then... ooh, dithers for days. Dithering. Hey guys, you heard of this pixel art technique called dithering? And the sky was gradiented and didn't... oh, where's to move? I suppose a slight technicality there is that W and S don't actually do anything. Wow, that's grim. Giant. Oh, there's one arm just sticking out, like... what's on his top? Like a banana? This guy? Is this a banana? Alright. So, even with like the sinking into the ground, pixel sizes all over the place, and it just didn't have to be this way. Like, everything's so close to matching, and it's just slightly off that just makes it all the more jarring. Try and keep, if you're doing pixel art, especially of this kind of style, try and keep the pixel sizes consistent. It will just make everything feel more coherent. Your art, like, you'd be surprised just how good your art will look, even if your art itself and your art skills aren't that good, just by making all the pixels the same size. And he closes his eyes to jump as well, just like... holds face to jump higher. Okay. Kind of rare that people actually bother to introduce their variable jump heights. I'm kind of glad you did. Disgusting harsh. Just a little weird turtle thing. See, this is fine. I don't like. Some people are like, well, that's a lot of text and so on. It's like, you know, you could do that more elegantly or whatever, but I think it's fine. It's this guy. Oh, okay. Oh, I can't get back into that. There we go. Okay. Okay, so you can kind of tell what the platform might do based on the color. Yikes. Generally, I think with checkpoints, you actually don't really have to point out how they work. If you've done what you've already done, which is just make them do something when you touch them. If you just, I think generally in a platformer, if you make an entity that's like some sort of like torch or fireplace or whatever your checkpoint is, and it just, you pass it by, or a flag, and it just pops up or lights up or just enters some sort of obviously on or active state, and there's no other way you can interact with it, I think it's generally clear to the player that they've like it's visually obviously some sort of milestone, and they will learn very clearly the first time they die that they'll pop back to one of those checkpoints as well. I think the key is to just make sure the player has to touch it, like usually like we put it in a thin corridor or something like that. Oh, God's sake. Come back. Everyone always messages me like, can you do like a new tutorial on moving platforms? I don't want to, because then people will actually put moving platforms in their games, and they're just not very good most of the time. Like, they're a lot of work to make, and then most of the time when people put them in, they're not very interesting. They just mean you have to wait. Oof. That's interesting though. I like that. Him and me, I was like, who's he talking about? That's just a thing. And then I saw the body. God, pixel sizes. It's a nice looking little checkpoint though, that. Don't know what you are, but I don't really want to touch you. Not like the attitude of him. I looked at the chat for 1 second. It does, yeah, Joel. But the thing is, I think you kind of have to know where you're going with them beforehand, I think. God, what am I touching there? Oh, that green thingy. Okay. Ugh. Like, yeah, you can emergently discover some things like those are cool. And like, I actually don't mind them here as the thing is like, just other than certain parts of the level design where it's sort of making you wait. But like, I feel like no one should add a moving platform until they have like a very good like game design rationale that they can explain for why exactly a moving platform will make their game better. And I know a bit of tutorials, people will just be like, wow, at least done a tutorial on this mechanic. Mechanics are good. Because that, like, just, you know, even think about that last game, it's a way you could spot beginner game designers. It's like seeing the quantity over quality approach to mechanics. More mechanics, more play, more fun. Right? So people will do it. People will just add and add and add and add and add. Blue ones are actually stable, right? I like this. I like the way it's like distinguished with the colors. Cute. Those ones that chop you up are cool. The least valuable ones are just the moving ones, which is a pain because like you know they're the hardest ones to code. To get them to carry the player, especially the vertical ones. And they just aren't the least, right? They just do something I could have done. The vertical ones could just be a ladder. The ones that move horizontally can just be a walkway. Other than, you know, and I'm talking about the majority of the instances we see them used here, but obviously you can do cool things with them. You know, you can have a moving platform that goes through a whole section, so you're forced to be moving while you're also having to manage something else. Like, you can't, like, it prevents you from being able to stop. It controls the pace. There's definitely uses for them. But the majority of people who want to learn how to do them and keep asking me for tutorials on them just want to add more mechanics to their game. Anyway, none of that is necessarily a big criticism of this particular game. There was a thing here. I could admit that. I don't want to make sure checkpoints are kind of like in your path of least resistance. You don't really want missable platforms. And I don't like how those spiky things look just so similar to just the rest of the background. Most of the time I've been killed is by something that just looks like the rest of the background. Maybe that's just intentional. Maybe you're just like, it's the vibe you're going for. You're in a jungle and everything can kill you. Things that look fine are just killing you. This guy just looks weirdly cartoony next to everything else, though. I haven't quite picked up on what the exact vibe is the game is going for yet. What was that noise? I don't remember the other noise. How does anyone get anywhere? Claustrophobic, okay. His dialogue's alright, though. I kind of like him. I don't like the pixels are all over the place. They didn't need to be. I don't think it's adding, like, maybe you think the pixel stuff is adding to the kind of esoteric vibe of the game, because it definitely has one, but I don't like, guess in some cases that could be true, but I don't think it's really working here. Because in a way I think the art is too good for that. So I think it could have really done with being way more consistent. How long? I need a timer. I need a timer on screen that's like how long have I been playing each game, and we just put it off after a certain length of time. What do we think a reasonable amount of time to play one of these things is? I'm so sure I would get across in time. The trial version of the software doesn't do anything to affect your art. Koala pump. Paying for Game Maker Studio does not make your art style coherent, unfortunately. Would that it did. Would that it did. When does it stop? It's just quite a tight jump. Oh, this is what the claustrophobia thing is about. Ah, I have bested you. Oh, me. Checkpoint. Glorious checkpoint. This is like, I feel like there's a genre for this at this point. I've played so many games like this. That kind of like, feels like the genre is struggle platformer. That's different from like a rage platformer, you know, the one that like just like spikes everywhere and just whatnot. It's ones where like the controls are just like a bit of a struggle. Getting over things is just like really quite tight, and there's lots of just little tight jumps and maneuvers, and lots of like fairly unique environmental mechanics. End. Nice. Right. You described this as what? A narrative transition? One thing, actually. Can I continue? Thing I'd like to point out. No, actually, it doesn't matter. No, Botanophobia. Fear of plants. So I guess it was. Yeah. Okay. Um, improve the player experience. I didn't really get much of a narrative from it. The start we crash landed in a jungle. There's scary plants everywhere. That was it. That was the narrative I got from it. Okay. And it's about that synergy again, because like, it's fair enough being like, well, we'll make a platform. Platformers are just like, a lot of people make them as a starting point, but they can only do so much. Especially platformers that are just about tricky jumps and stuff like that. If it's a puzzle game, that's another matter. That's why generally I think most of the platformers that tell interesting stories and things like that tend to be puzzle games because they find a lot more ways to synergize those mechanics with a story. Or most of the action platformers tell very similar stories. Or tend to. They tend to tell stories of like either if it's solely like mechanics focused, like you've got a platformer like maybe something like Poke, or like getting over it and things that are just about like performing difficult movement challenges and stuff. They tend to be stories about like personal inner growth and overcoming obstacles and that kind of thing. Metroidvanias tend to be more about explicit growth through exploration and experience. Um, and like just like slowly building up in strength. Like that tends to be the core story of most like action platformer. Um, Whereas platformers about like jumping and stuff like that don't tend to tell other kinds of stories super well, in my opinion. Because there tends to not really be much synergy between the mechanics and the narrative. That being like your mechanics here are just avoiding and jumping over things and doing little tight jumpy things over there. What does that have to do with being the fear and danger of just being locked in a jungle trying to survive or whatever from the crash, right? The mechanics that would narratively feed into that might be things like avoidance, stealth type things, or like survival mechanics. Or just raw exploration, and raw exploration can be hard in platformers because honestly, visually, it's hard to actually. Some platformers do it really well. Lisa did it quite well. Hard to like convey environments and stuff. Like, no. Think about what I'm saying. So I think the narrative and the mechanics here, what I'm trying to say is the narrative and the mechanics here don't actually have that much synergy. That's not to say the mechanics are bad, it's not to say the narrative is bad. It just means that there's not a lot that like blends the two together and makes it work. I'm always going to be thinking about one or the other at any point in time, which then struggles to make them feel like super meaningful things, especially if I end up liking one more than the other, and then either it's like, oh, I can't wait to get through this game part to get to more of the story, or oh, I can't wait for the story to go away to get to more of the game part, because they're not fitting together as a thing that like enhance and hold one another up. That's sort of the core feedback I'd give on the main game, like the main game idea. Feedback in general, smaller things like just make the pixel art consistent, because I think your style would look fine, it would look great, and it would go a long way to actually just creating a really good aesthetic and theme and mood and atmosphere. If it didn't look so much like a beginner video game because of all the different like pixel art like inconsistencies. You just want to make whatever it is you do look as intentional as possible, you know? Wait, Koala Pump, is that you? You said your name in chat was Nephilim. Who was that? Oh, maybe you're talking to someone else. I don't know. What else? Is there anything else for this one? I like the cute way you drew the story at the start because it's simple. Just the like big image card, like one after the next, just to tell a story. Simple. It's a cheap way to do it, and it works because you've limited amount of text as well, and you just quickly get across what's happening. Probably could have done it in a few less screens, and still got the same atmosphere across. But the actual approach is good, I think, for just quickly getting you into knowing what's going on, without having to take too much in, and just setting the tone and the atmosphere. I think that's good. Obviously, not much more to talk about because you talk to a weird cartoon fruit man a couple of times, and then you jump off into a big pit after doing some difficult platformy stuff. But all that stuff is all right, really. I like it. It's hard to really criticize too much on the mechanics end, and there's little feel and polish things, but none of those are gonna matter too much until you get the core thing nailed. And I just like I don't think like difficult jumps and like getting over spikes and stuff is really at the moment synergizing super well with the story, but tastes can vary on that. And I don't want to dive in and be like, this is what you should do. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. But it's good. I don't think I have anything else to say about that one. But thanks for submitting it. It was cool. I hope any of that was useful. But we need to get a move on. 4 o'clock, got 3 games left. It's actually a decent pace for my usual standard. Oh, you're trying to do all the art. Fair enough. Well, what you want to do with that? Well, the thing is, you want to make that art consistent, which probably means make sure it's all designed to be the same size and you're not stretching it. Never be scaling. Never be stretching anything. So you want to make sure it all fits. Some of that will be your fault. Some of it will just be the fault of the person putting it into Game Maker. If they've stretched it or moved it around in some way, but you need to make sure everything stays at the same resolution. The easiest way you can do that is just make sure you actually change the application surface size to be whatever your fixed resolution is. Say it's like 640 360 is a common one, and then just draw everything designed for that size. The pixels that it would look like if you viewed it 640 360, more no less. Next up, Pale Knight from PrettyFrenchMan. Calling PrettyFrenchMan. We're about to play a game. There he is. He's pretty, he's French, he's a man. Game is up next. His game is called Pale Night. Windows OTS 19. Oh, it used to be called Outrun the Sun, of course. I'm waiting to see what this was, because I vaguely remember the name. I vaguely remember the name Outrun the Sun. Nom Nom Fighter, thank you for the host. Left and right, left and right. Fair enough. This is a cool way as well. This is the first thing to probably move on to after text, right? After text that just says, you can move this way on an arrow key. A little diagram that's just super clear and is as simple as possible. Up A or spacebar. Put A on the controller, right? It's assuming control mechanics, which is, but it's fine. Ooh, light it. Now I remember. Instant, like, the moment that happened, I'm like, I remember what game this is. What a nice way to introduce this, actually. Talking about introducing mechanics, here we go. So, we're in Shadow. We don't even know that Shadow's a thing yet, but we are in Shadow, and we come through here, and there's suddenly light, covering most of the screen. Covering most of the screen, so we see very clearly there is light. The entire screen just screams at you in contrast. Very importantly, in contrast to the last screen. Very, very cool that there was no light in here. No in here, in contrast to the last screen, full screen, like lit super bright up here. Okay, so I noticed that. It's possible that I run out with this thing, but it's very, very likely that I just end up running out into this sun here and dying. And it's instantly clear. Come out of the shadow, we get dead. So I've got to come into here. The only weakness with this is it's possible, I think, if I get back to this... Oh, there's no way I can get back to the star now, is there? It's possible that you just run along with it underneath the block and never notice this, but it won't take you long, probably. Like, if you didn't learn it there, you'll learn it here, or you'll learn it eventually, and it's pretty clear. But I really like how you start with just no light at all on a screen, just moving around. And then this comes in here. It's cute. This feels like different level design to what I remember. Some of this feels familiar. Wasn't it like yellow before? Did you turn it to be like a blue color? I remember being like super orangey. I think this looks nicer. That's cool. And as I said, like, you notice how he's not done anything to say, like, what wall jumps are, but, like, the easiest way to communicate it is to just put a big tube here. It's a little bit, like, I mean, did I already learn it in here? No, we dropped down. Or did we learn it? Hang on. See, these things, I learn them so subconsciously, and you do learn them so subconsciously when you play things, that I don't remember when I learned it. Ah, yeah, we learned it. Oh, he did explicitly show it. Okay. That's how, like, that in itself is a lesson on how, subconsciously you learn things. Like, I don't even remember seeing that. I just sort of just naturally just lunged on. Oh, yeah, wall jump. Just wall jumped up. But it's how easy it is to just teach it, you know? You probably didn't even need that sign. It's good that you had the sign. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely good that you had it. Oh, this is cool as well. Just like a little thing there. Suppose what might have been nice is I know all your light comes up from above, so maybe this doesn't fit into the idea. But maybe something that made a bridge out of these or something that you walked across, rather than having to sort of learn that that is something you can't go through while wall jumping, which is something that's a little bit tricky. Right? Something while you're doing something, you kind of have to get the lesson that that's a solid material that light can pass through. It's pretty easy to just pick that up, but you know, like, these little things do add up and they do matter. You know, it's still... slightly I think I probably pointed out something like this before. But it's slightly jarring, like the prettiness of that lighting effect and the general prettiness of the solid color and everything, versus his like little beady like pixel art my first video game character eyes. I love the little blink though. The blink is great, but I don't know if it's worth. I almost feel like it would look better as a solid color block here, and like if these would look better as like. I see maybe why you'd want the thing at the edge because it might help them stand out a little bit more. I don't know, but like I don't know, bigger blocks or something in the texture, maybe like big thick diagonals or something like that. Because just look how vectory everything else is, you know, with all these solid colors and round stuff. I'm sure I said something like this before. It's all like straight lines, solid colors, and just like really smooth, high resolution curves. So when you get something like here that feels a bit more like leaning towards pixel art, it stands out a little as inconsistent. Oh, you added another level? Did I miss that as well? Or maybe I'm just an idiot. That's always a thing as well. So why is that one? Why is this glass? Also, how do I do this? Is that light down there? Why is that light down there? What's stopping that light? Why is this light not coming up here? It's a little unclear what the light source is. I guess it's like coming from the wall? Again, to be focused on specifics, I guess, but maybe this works better as like a beam or something, like the others look like. Looks a little weird just being fully horizontal like that. Kind of just gotta go fast a bit, okay? A fancy thing up here that I could ignore, but it doesn't look particularly hard to get or anything. Oh, it's a little tricky. We've got to like jump off the wall at the right time. Ooh, nice little transition there. It's cute. Zoom in a little. The ability to just do nice zoom-ins and have them look nice is a very strong reason to go for this kind of aesthetic as well. Because they look good in this kind of aesthetic. Pixel art, it can be a bit tricky unless you zoom to very specific sizes. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was actually light there. It looks, yeah, it just looks a little odd as vertical, like horizontal of lights, right? Now you could have like weird beams of reflective energy or whatever that the light bounces off or something as well. But there's all kinds of things I guess you could do. Yeah, because it's just like little pits of light here and there, isn't there? Which is just like fundamentally spike, right? It's possible that you have to just consider hidden checkpoint as well. You have to consider maybe that that's not an option for you. Unless you find a way that like really feels nice. Maybe just don't have them. Do you need spikes? Is this you just getting worried that you're running out of mechanics with the just light stuff? Maybe just don't have areas like that. Maybe just accept that that's a constraint. Possibility. You don't have to. There might be other ways you can make it work. What's this for? Ah. Cute. It's good level design here. Generally a lot of restraint. little bit of indulgence with the let's make it like organically cave looky likey, but it's alright. Is this just a... Oh, that's gonna be tricky. That's how you meant to sound. Yeah, okay. Ooh! Yeah, some weird issues with how that worked. Oh, I'm like stuck in the floor. Oh well, maybe I can't do that. Never mind. Thing appeared up in the trees. Yeah, so this doesn't really fit the aesthetic. Like, these little things like zoomed out of backgrounds of weird different sizes now. This is all I thought, yeah. Yeah. Like, none of the stuff looks individually bad, but you've strayed away from... Ah, what's this as well? What are you? You've strayed a long way from your aesthetic here that was so nice and so clean and simple and consistent. With the, like, the tiniest exceptions maybe being his eyes and the little things in the glass. But here, this is... Screen's not a great look. The cave is nice. That fits. Oh, what are these? Oh! Blocks made of light. There you go. You worked out how to do spikes. Why don't just have the blocks made of light and if you touch them you just die? Maybe they don't create a block like this, but maybe they just like, I don't know, they're just glowing a little and if you just touch them, you die, you know. That's a way to do it that might be a bit more thematically coherent. How come these have only just shown up here? Okay. I feel like you could have done this without that as well. So you could have had, I guess, like, I don't know, like a little tunnely bit. And just some like blocks here. You want to find creative ways to use your light thing like you had at the start with your spinny platforms and stuff. We're losing some of that now and it feels like it's degrading into a more normal platform and like you ran out of ideas for it. And like your bouncy thing is here, whatever, and you want to like go through a cool diagonal path. So you position some blocks up here so that when your light source here casts down, it's going to create those diagonal shadows that you want, that you have to like bounce up through, right? Oh wait, no, because then the light kills you or whatever, right? You want the shadow, no, yeah, you want the shadow like there, right? I forget how it works. Yeah, you want like the shadow here and like cast the shadow down, but then the other area of light. It's tricky. And it can be, like, you start off, like, it happens to a lot of people, I think. They start off with a cool mechanic. And they use it a bunch of times, and then they're like, oh, how do I get any more out of this? And sometimes there's no answer. Sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, this actually just isn't that interesting. And that's a fine thing to discover. Kind of upsetting, but it happens, you know. But sometimes the developer just gets a little desperate for it to work. Like, so this is all lit up here, so why don't I die in there? I think you really have to just commit to it and think, like, I think it's better. I think the light blocks reek of desperation. I think I would cut that kind of stuff out. Cut all your really basic platformer stuff out. You only want that stuff if it provides some kind of interesting new synergy or new take on the cool moving light stuff. I think there's room. I think there is stuff you can do. I don't want to like just sit and theorize what all that stuff would be. But I think you need that stuff and you need to commit to it. and the other stuff just adds bloat, waters down the game, and doesn't. You're not making it. You're not fixing the problem. It's a real problem having a unique mechanic that's not that explored, that you worry that you've hit the top of the mountain with it really quickly, and just like, okay, we've got some basic timing mechanics with this light thing. Is there anything else we can do? And maybe not. Maybe you need to add something that makes the whole light thing more complicated. You add some new rule about how it behaves, or something light that fades off over time, you know, like those torches do. Maybe so something. Maybe you have something that can bend light around in some way. You know, you got to do something that works with it, not around it. But this, I mean, this on its own is cool though. Like, this is fine, even though it's like the same thing again. Just doing it a little bit more, an extra step, is fine for a little bit, right? Just making it a little bit harder and more interesting. You're still just exploring that same thing. The invisible checkpoints is cute, but at the same time, I'm like, oh god, I hope I hit one, and then I haven't, and I'm miles back. And it is weird having these torches give light that, like, doesn't affect it in any way. What do I do here? Just, like, now it's just a wall jumping thing. Wall jumping doesn't have anything to do with outrunning the sun in this particular implementation of it. I see why you changed the name to like pale or something as well, right? This is Blue Edition. The Blue Edition of the game. Oh god, I didn't even notice that thing the first time. I suppose you actually need it, but I didn't use it last time. This is interesting, like light that just turns on and off rather than like being covered by a timed thing. This is kind of nice, like, and at least the light like follows normal light rules and is stretching all the way to the end, yeah. So that's interesting. It's working with the understood light mechanics. Being a bit more generous with checkpoints now, I know it. Yeah, these ones just... But yeah, you could have light that falls off, you know? Like maybe that light just doesn't reach all that way or whatever, you know? And you can have it fall off rather than just weirdly become a block, which is just not how we know that light works, right? Maybe you just have weird blocks that just emanate shadow and stuff like that as well. See you, Thychiris. Thanks for stopping by. And others as well. People who've been joining while I've been yammering on and so on, joining and leaving. Thank you everyone who has been coming to hang out, submitting games and whatnot. I think I'm going to leave this one here though. I think we've said the most interesting things to say about it, probably. But it is good. I like, yeah, the vector art is really, yeah, that's always the case, PrettyFrenchMan. It's hard to control that kind of thing. I have to draw lines. Speaking of drawing lines, yeah, once again, the vector art is good. I think, like, just try and make it as consistent as possible, because I think you're so close to a really, really nice, super clean aesthetic. Keep it consistent and coherent, and try and either develop the mechanic further or explore it further. Try not to fall back on the crutches of basic platforming stuff, bouncy platforms and like pseudo spikes and things like that. Try and find things to do with it that are unique to your game, which is what you open with in a very clean, elegant, interesting way, and then it just becomes a platformer. Which is disappointing, but like I know it's hard. Like I had the same issue with things like Another Perspective early on, which is like, okay, you can get a guy, you can jump on another guy who can reach a door. I guess that's it. And it wasn't until I like started doing the stuff like, oh, maybe each character can see their own versions of the world later on. That's does more stuff and so on. That it started to become more interesting. It's hard, but it's good. It's good. It's got a lot of promise. I like it. Next up, second to last, we got Daddy Suck 5000 with a game called Followers. Jump through levels and don't freeze. Done with his brief foray into the world of 3D games. Daddy Suck has now come back to his roots in the 2D development space. Game Followers, made for the Brackies Game Jam. God, every YouTube, like, am I the only game development YouTuber that doesn't run their own game jam? I don't have to. There's a million game jams, man. Yeah, man, no problem. Thank you for submitting it. It's very cool. Good to see it again. It's always interesting to see how things have changed rather over time. And I say that the intro section, it starts so well, and then like I could just see it in the game of you just like God, like now what do I do with that? And you want to do something because it's just like, oh, this is so cool at the beginning again. How do I get more? And it is hard. I empathize. I sympathize and I empathize. I all of the thighs. Man, this zip is really having to think hard about opening. How big is this? Did I just try and open it too quickly? Just not finished downloading? The time is going down, so I guess we just wait. Oh, it's like 600 meg. I didn't even know it. 600 meg! How many hours of audio are in this? 600! I can fit close to 100 copies of Another Perspective in this game. The final version comes for something like 7 megabytes. Ambient sounds and stuff are an hour long. Alright, yeah, I mean, that'll do it. That'll do it. I feel like you know what I'm going to say about these snow particles, assuming that's what they are. Oh, this is Game Maker. I mean, that's open right now. Where did that go? Downloads. We opened it, we extracted it. We now run it. Difficult final step for me to remember there. I have to actually run the game, of course. Yeah, so I know it's quick to just like open paint and just like, or open the image editor and just like slam down a load of white everywhere. Try and take a little bit more time with it, like to make sure you're not just doing brush strokes. Maybe you're trying to convey movement in it, and I guess that it's a little. It's like an ambient noise thing. I don't know. One thing you can do to create the kind of like snow falling effect is just create like several layers of it and have them kind of move around. So you just do like also like similarly sized dots or whatever. Just like scatter all over the place and then just like make that move. You can also give it like a sine wave pattern if you want to like have that move. And it's like, oh well, then they all move together, and that's not how it looks, right? That's why you create multiple layers. Each one with only like a few things on, so only a few are moving at the same speed as others, and they start to look like they have that. But honestly, my main criticism of it is literally it's a totally different pixel size. What? down here. Look, the snow is the size bigger than his head. It's 1 pixel. 1 pixel of snow is bigger than his head. It's because it's not meant to represent a pixel of snow. It's meant to represent 1 snowflake. If it's a snowflake should be round. Why is it not round? Well, it's pixel art. But it's not the size of a pixel. If you're doing pixel art, the art should be the pixels as the screen. Generally speaking. Similar issues with the menu, but it is what it is. I love how much value you've gotten out of my menu, though. I'm sure I've said this before. Like the menu tutorial. I'm just ignoring him and going this way to see what happens. Oh, does it just take me to the same place anyway? Close to each other so we don't freeze. So what, that gave me a bit more warmth than the one following me around? You had something that had a thing follow someone before, and I feel like you've reused the same code because it had the same weird bug where it doesn't quite follow close enough. Find some people. Campfire. Warm, but now it's time to move on because, I don't know, nothing else is happening in the game. Flashing? Was that? Oh. Don't know. Oh, maybe that's what that's meant to be. It's like a really giant stretched out version of a snow thing, maybe just stretched over the whole map. Can we... Oh no, oh, I froze. I was told not to freeze! I was told not to freeze and I froze. Now we're at the beginning. I think. There's some chill snow music in the background. I don't know if you can hear. You can double jump? Of course you can. You need to tell me that at any point? Through the things on the screen, maybe? Also, why can I jump this high? Why can I double jump? Why did you think it was necessary for me to be able to double jump? Oh. We're losing dudes. It's getting cold. Warm up, guys. Maybe I'm meant to move around a bit slow. It's a bit hard, and there's a lot of different ways to go. You got all the classic like platformer design problems of like there's a lot of verticality and ways for you to just fall down. The dude's following you around like split apart. I guess that's maybe meant to be part of it, making it hard or whatever. There's some kind of narrative going into it of working together with some people to try and stay warm, but it's hard to get through all the general weirdness of it. I like the general mood of it as like simple restricted colors. Reminds me a little bit of the dudes I made for that game. What did I call it? Was it something I said? It reminds me of the villages I made in that. There's a lot of nothing, but I think that you've done that to pace it, which is alright until the fact that you can die and then just instantly have to go all the way back to the beginning, because now I'm just like, ah! And there's a bit much. We'll try this one more time. Let's go back to the file. I think the way you design games, I don't think platformers are. I don't think they play to your strengths very well, because there's so much you have to do in platformers that's just like basic stuff that kind of every platformer sort of needs to have. And the things you're trying to do, all that seems to get in the way for you, and you never do any of it. you never you never do any of the basic like level design and teaching of the player. You never do like you put in stuff that's not necessary, like you use a double jump and stuff. And it feels like you just want to do some weird, cool narrative stuff. And I honestly think that's going so well for you in your 3D games. Your game with the zombies in the mall and the weird horror thing where you're being chased by that one big thing, you gotta find the keys and stuff. Um, I think for 2D games, I would explore starting to maybe do some top-down stuff. Like I think one of your first games that you sent me was a top-down thing where you ran around with a gun or something like that. I think that was one of yours. Let's have a look. One thing you're doing very well is just making a ton of games. Yeah, you smell. This is weird. All your games are weird, man. But this was good, and it's a more conducive environment because the basics are simpler and you can get away with a lot more. Platformers, you gotta really thought about your jump arcs. You've got to really thought about everything that you put in. Making a good platformer is hard, and there's just a lot of fundamentals and stuff you kind of got to get right for to actually be able to get to the fun experimental nonsense and have that stuff work. You kind of got to know what to do in order to be able to break those rules. Whereas, like with your 3D stuff of just a simple FPS and moving around, and just a simple top-down game of just moving around, you can get away with a lot more and be weird and interesting a lot quicker. Um, Game Breakers Toolkit. Well, that is. So like, because like the ambience is fine and stuff, the transition is fine, and like, all that stuff that you normally do quite well is there. But this game, along with like Dread Tomb, and whenever you do a platformer, I think you just struggle to get the very basic stuff of platformers right. And that stuff is hard, especially in a game jam. It's actually really hard to get that stuff good unless you're really used to it and you're really confident and know what you're doing. I'm not saying stop making platformers. I'm saying like they're exposing your weaknesses as a game designer. So if you want to get better at them, you need to study those basics and actually remember some of the things I'm saying to you. Like you need to remember that if you're gonna have a double jump, first of all, don't put it in unless you've actually got a good reason for it. Is your game meant to be an action jumping platformer about getting from one place to the next and avoiding spikes and or whatever, right? Or like doing jumps in midair and complicated tricks. That's generally what a double jump is for, because it makes no physical sense. Why can someone double jump? That's dumb and bizarre. You put it in to add more depth as an expansion on the jumping mechanic, right? As an expansion on just trying to like maybe you have to jump in and you have to get under a thing, but then you still have to get some heights, and then you have to double jump in midair to get under it. That's the classic like use of it, right? You gotta have reasons for those things to exist, and also you gotta tell the player that they exist. You gotta pace things out. You gotta think about your jump arcs so that they feel satisfying and correct, and like all your distances aren't just super arbitrary and random. Um, there's a lot to it, you know? And I feel like you're not thinking about that stuff enough because you're busy trying to be experimental, which is okay if you want to do that. But if you want to just do that and you don't really want to take the sort of design stuff of platformers very seriously, I'd recommend just not making platformers and recommend making your other stuff where it's going a lot better for you, I think. That's my honest opinion on that. Like the freezing thing was like tiny meter in the top left that was really hard to see. That might be a resolution thing. Everything, yeah, just all the mechanics and the physics just felt really arbitrary and not very well thought out. There was random branching paths, verticality. There wasn't enough clean thought on the actual level design of it, right? Right, time next week's session will start usually between 1 and 3. Trying to get earlier, so like more towards the one end, but like because I know people will start waiting around from then, and so I don't want to leave everyone waiting for ages as I always do. I'm doing my best, but it's hard. Do I have plans for a future GM surgery? No, because no one answers the call. I mean, maybe they have. I don't know. Surgery. They're all cowards. They all keep emailing me. I've seen these two already that are in here. I've dealt with those two. No one takes me up on it. I haven't publicized it in a little while. Some people have messaged me some stuff on Patreon or whatever that I might ask, like, "Hey, do you mind if I make a surgery episode out of this?" So we'll still see some of those from time to time, but it's a rare one for people to take me up on. Thank you very much for the Prime subscription, by the way. Very cool. Oh, the Prime resubscription, I should say. Thank you, Milner, for your Prime subscription. Everybody's Amazon blood money. Pour it in. I'll put it to good use, I promise. Every second you have Twitch Prime and you haven't given it to your favorite streamer, i.e. me, you're basically losing money for me. So, get it in. Oh, yes, everybody. more subs. We're not going to do any more games, we're just going to get more subs. Thank you very much, Ristre. Very cool. Let's delete this. On to our last one. Our last game, Rabenland from PudgeMeBaby. Last but certainly not least, level 1 hype train. 94% build. I've activated some Twitch game mechanics. I don't know how, I never really understand how they work, but I think if I get lots of subs in a time, people get subs. I don't know, something happens. More people give me more money. I mean, more people engage with the Twitch game mechanics by giving me money. Very first prototype version, everything is about to change. This is mainly to explore the main mechanics of the game and getting feedback on everything. Golly. Feedback on everything before everything changes. Sounds like you already know what you want to change, though. Okay. Can we full screen this in any way? Alt enter does nothing. We've got a little dude. He has a gun, makes a cool little satisfying clicky noise when we hold right mouse. Press left mouse button to shoot. We spooked up. That's cute as well, because obviously I'm going to try it, reading that, and then I just sort of shoot somewhere, and it's like, that's cool. Nice little flash. Hope I'm not running out of ammo. Nice little sense of permanence with the little like bullet casings falling away. Like I said, if you've got a tricky little mechanic that's like a little difficult to work out, nothing wrong with a bit of text. Don't know what this is about. Oh, it really is like, like just initially firing, you're not gonna hit anything, are you? It's so wide. Oh god. Oh, okay, okay, we quickly learned what that was at hell. Oh, excuse me. The headshot's a thing? The 132 by 32 patch of grass? There you go. So really, this mechanic, it's like it like just forces a bit of pacing and risk reward on the shooting. I like it. It's extremely big. I think maybe you could have started it smaller, but maybe had it just like without actually affecting the mechanics, because you could just make it shrink slower, right? Rather than just having a completely useless space of time. Like maybe like if it starts at like half size every now and again, there might be some use for a panic shot. But otherwise, it's just hit like a 90-degree space for. Oh, I guess there was a double jump. That's risky though, man. Like, not told me that. It's not that intuitive. We're not all MLG gamers. Especially when the jump is like almost reachable. Because even if you want to argue that that's there to teach you the double jump, because like, oh, you can't get past it without doing double jump, it is like exactly one spike long. Oh, they break the spikes. That's cute. They break up words. It's exactly one spike longer than the last jump. I know you're maybe thinking like, oh, well, you only just made this one, so the player will know that they can't reach the next one. But nah, like this just felt like a really tight jump. I think like maybe this one should be closer, and then this one should be just obviously too big for the normal jump. Like your double jump can get you a lot further. But then also tell the player they can double jump. It is literally a superpower. I mean, it's a superpower on all platformers to be able to jump more than your own head height anyway. But it's a bizarro superpower that, like, you can jump in midair. Like, how does that even make sense? You gotta tell the player. Not intuitive. You argue, well, you worked it out, Shaun. You just ran up and you just jumped in and jumped. Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, all these things aren't necessarily going to block 100% of your players. But they're extreme risks that you just don't need to take. There's nothing to be gained by taking that risk. Okay, well, I guess. Mugs. Can I walk in this now? I don't really want to test it. I guess I do. Okay, you can. Cool. There's not been an explicitly controlled example of that, but I guess it's fairly likely that at this point I would know that. You received a level 1 hype train emote. Golly, yeah. Why did I click share? 2 hype fighter. Cool! Yeah, Twitch mechanic. Thank you, whoever triggered that. Moist face. That's a name. Thank you very much. The tier 1 sub. That's not even a prime sub, that's a subby sub. Thank you very much. Oh, there's a lot of these. I like the slow pacing with the gun in terms of like the kind of tone it creates and the forced pace, but like becomes a bit of a chore when it's like, okay, here's 10 skeletons. Very slowly take out each one. Okay, so that's a case where you do want to tell because they have to tell me how to light it, right? I like engaging the mechanic in that way as well. Your main mechanic is you go and use that to interact with the world. Oh. Shooting these turns them into little spiky things? Uh-oh. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, that was the thing. Alright. Yeah, I think if it were me, it's not. But if it were me, I would have this start like already like hard like around there where I'm letting go with it. If you really want, you can then just, as I say, make it shrink slower. But like this area is just so useless that it's just waiting. It's just waiting around. Like, you're gonna have that, like, that feel of waiting and, like, that little bit of tension in, like, having a slow attack anyway, because you're gonna want to make it more accurate than it is about halfway. But at least, one, there's some use for it, and two, because there's no use for this, it just feels like waiting. It doesn't really add anything. I just gotta... okay, it's not doing anything either. Not even sure what we do here. What do we do here? Art style is consistent. So it's... Play, your pixel art doesn't have to be complicated or... Oh, you just... Okay, you just had to shoot it a lot. Wasn't clear that it was taking any damage because there's just no feedback when I was hitting it. Yeah, it's just like... Like, I like this mechanic fundamentally. I just think, like, it just... For me, it just starts out way too useless and big, and it's just so much just... And wait... Which I would be fine with if it started from a position that was, like, at least vaguely useful. So I know that it's my choice to wait for it to become more accurate. And like I could fire a less effective shot just by firing a little sooner. I have to wait ages just to fire an ineffective shot, let alone an accurate one. Ow! I forgot that happened to me. Yeah, just like, I like... Oh, that was a lucky pot shot. I like the idea of taking shots like that, but it's just so rarely ever going to be worth it. Yeah, why do I have to shoot these like 8 times? That's a lot of just... Why not just have them have 1 hit point? Then you wouldn't even need to code any... Well, coding any feedback in them would still be good, but... Oh god. Why are there so many? There didn't need to be this many. Oh. No. It is the last game, isn't it? Okay, we can push on a little bit. There's so many, and it's all just wait, shoot, wait, shoot, wait, shoot, wait, shoot. And I'm forced, like, I don't know how you meant to do that without taking any damage, if there is even a way. I like the graphics a lot. I like the aesthetic here. Actually, before I get into that, let's think about this one again from the sort of, the synergy lens that I've been liking to use today. It's just one way to look at games, but it's a useful one, I think. Your mechanics and aesthetics work well together here, generally. You could argue that this, like, circle is a bit off with the resolution and stuff like that, but everything else is in keeping. And yeah, the gun rotates around, but because the art is so simple, it just kind of works with it. And it's necessary for the mechanics, really, I guess. I suppose you could actually do a rotating one at resolution, but it's clearer if it looks like this, I think. And it's simple. It's like the mechanic of like having to wait a little bit to do the shot is nice because it adds to the kind of spooky aesthetic. It's kind of why it works that way in Castlevania, right? With just like the slow whip at the start that they just kept across the games, and well, until eventually they were just like, no, these are action games now. Just make it super fast. But like in the first one, like that whip is just like, and it's designed to be slow because it's spooky Castlevania, right? That works well. So that's an example. Mechanics, aesthetic, and a little bit of narrative all tying together there quite nicely. But here is where mechanics starts to lose its synergy with all that, because it just makes it. I'm just thinking about how annoying this is to have to just wait and shoot through all this before anything else happens. There's a mechanical wall in the way of any more aesthetic, any more narrative, any more anything. And it's when we see things like a million skeletons all at once as well, is when I'm again just I start to think, if I'm thinking about any one thing, like if I'm just thinking mechanics for a moment, or if I'm just thinking about something narratively for a second, or I'm just thinking aesthetically about something for a moment, chances are it's become a problem because it's creating some sort of bottleneck for the other two. You want them all to work together as neatly as possible. Generally, all of that stuff in here is good, though. Viewed from that lens, this game's doing alright. My biggest problem are 1, everything I've just talked about. 2, no death transition or something like that. That's a very big, easy win. Easy win, quite low effort. It's kind of satisfying. I guess the main reason you put loads of skeletons in is because you found it's quite satisfying to have like a million of them run into spikes. Like that. Yeah, I keep thinking I should be able to run through them like that, but I guess that's not how it works. The jump arc is nice enough as well, like everything's okay here, really. The main issue, other than ones I've already talked about, and the waiting and stuff, is that I'm just doing the same thing over and over here. You know? We've had games that have introduced stuff way too quickly. I'm ready. I could have had another 4 new mechanics or new interesting things to happen. It's all just been walk a bit further, there's another big pile of skeletons and another bunch of spikes you can lure them into. Look, another big set of spikes you can lure them all into, and you've got to just slowly pick off bit by bit, and it's just, clicked out the window. That's why you need full screen. And it's just all of that again and again and again. I think I am going to leave it there, and I know you're going to say, but you're probably right next to the end, but that's just always how it be. I'm sorry. But those are the 2 main criticisms I have of it, because the rest is alright. Like, you kept the art simple and largely very consistent, coherent, except in places where it's largely okay. Yeah, it always is. I kind of dig the lack of music and the there's a nice ambience theme, general tone about it. That's good. Too much waiting around with the shooting. Too much of the game just being the same thing over and over again. It's just another pile of skeletons, lure into another set of spikes, slowly shoot and pick them off, and move on. That's just all there is. I'm not getting any more narrative. I'm not getting any more variations on those mechanics. I'm not getting any more interesting areas to explore. Nothing, right? Those are the two biggest things. But like everything about it felt like the gun felt nice to shoot, other than it zooming in way too slow. It made a nice little noise when you like lifted it up. That was really nice. The little gun casings being left behind was really nice. Shooting a thing felt good, satisfying. The first time there was just a ton of skeletons and like, oh god, and you just kind of have to run away with them. It was a cool moment. It just wasn't cool the next 20 times, you know? Yeah. But what is there is good. What is there is implemented well. Cool, and that's the end of that. That is all she wrote. I'll do the thing again where if anyone wants another one, we can do a bonus one if someone has like 1,000 bits to spare. That's my price. That's if you want to. That's the Shaun sells out price. If you have 1,000 bits, we do bonus game for people who are late but have money. But if that's not the case, I'm going to find somebody to raid. Unfortunately, watch points are completely worthless. Everyone has about 2 million of them. I don't know. I need to put more emotes or something on the channel or something to unlock with them. I just haven't even really looked at any of that stuff. I don't know. Twitch mechanics. Let's go hit up the old twitch.tv. Let's go to science and technology. That's where all the game developers hang out. Let's see if we can spot a game maker user. If we can't, maybe Gen2 is streaming. We rated him last time. Can we spot the game maker UI somewhere? There's not many of them. Not many game maker streamers. So yeah, you sometimes have to look for a while. There's not even a tag. There's not even a game. There's an Unreal Engine tag. But there's not even a Unity one or anything. God. No. CNT. A lot of game developers about though. Oh? Oh? We found one.
Hello, Shaun B.
Hello, Shaun G's. I think that's some sort of bot that reads out voice things when that spots them. Struggling dev makes game. Jump Jerboa, game maker. Oh, someone did it? Oh, God. All right. Hey, Matthew. Guess you're going to have to wait. Trinity, I'll keep that stream. I will mute it. Thank you very much, sir. Do you want to just post a link in the chat, Matthew? Bonus game incoming, inbound. If you would like, it gets its own VOD as well. That's what I did last time. The game one. Yeah. We could split it up. We could do a surgery as well. I could open the code afterwards. What is this? Did it download? Pirate game. Pirate bingo game. Oh, okay. It was just thinking about it. There we go. Save. I'm gonna say only one bonus game because I do actually want to finish streaming ever for today. But if you ever catch me streaming and I'm not doing Feedback Friday, generally it's always an option. If you just want to buy some of my time, just be like, stop whatever you're doing and play my game. Hand me some money and I'll go, all right. Do you like money? So whether or not we make this another VOD, I don't know. But we'll act as if we are. So hello again, YouTube. Perhaps if you're watching this is a bonus game. Slightly separate, just appended to the end of a Feedback Friday from Matthew Patel called Pirate Bingo, which we are going to play and see if we can think of some kind of intelligent feedback or criticism. The first thing I want to immediately say is that is there a way to full screen this? I press Alt and Enter. There is! OBS will capture it now. And the second thing I want to say is that so far, very promising on the front of a consistent art style and consistent aesthetic. We've gone for pixel art, and it's simple pixel art, you know, like but it looks very nice. And one of the main reasons it looks very nice is just because everything is consistent, it's coherent. You can go a long way just by doing that. The bad thing is that the AI doesn't work very well. It was asking for the surgery earlier. Like if you want the surgery, hell, maybe we can try and do that live today. Maybe there's something, I don't know. But if that's more of an advanced thing, feel free to fill out that form. If you want the form for it, I can put it in the chat afterwards. Feel free to submit to that. I'm open for it. You know, like I say, no one really takes me up on it these days. Anyway. Player CPU, get 3 items in a row to win. Okay. The thing that's confusing me here, though, is it says 3 items in a row, and I can't see how I would have what it means to get these, because it's not like they're the same item. But I guess. Okay. Wait, the CPU is controlled with these, but why are they lighting up when I press? Oh, whatever. Play. You said the CPU doesn't work. Oh, that well. Okay. Oh, now I get it. So without the context of the game, it was a little difficult to understand what it was trying to tell me there. Get 3 in a row to win. You could have almost actually not put that on that screen. I know it feels like, oh, give them the information about how to play first, and then things just sort of, they appear and disappear? Or are they just sort of flashing? Oh, red's not on my list, so I can't get that. This is reminding me of something similar, but not quite the same. I want the ring. Or this. Why do they just appear and disappear? That's not a thing. That's not a thing for me. Red wins, hey! Bingo. Okay. This reminds me of a cool game. Have you ever played Spy vs. Spy? It's a very old game. You like see if I can find like some footage of it. Might make it easy to explain exactly how it worked. Like an old Amiga or a Commodore game or something. Spy vs. Spy game, 1984 video game. Yeah. It looked something like. I mean, I know there's been new versions of it. I don't know if they're any good. But the old version, I just wanted a screenshot. Good enough. So yeah, you'd have like these rooms that you'd walk between as spies, and you had to like find these like 3 things. I can't remember what they were, but it was just like an arbitrary thing, like an umbrella and a thing and another thing, and you would have to gather them all and into like a specific place and get out or something, but you could only like carry one at a time, so you'd have to find where one was, and then like you could move them around. and stuff like that. Exactly how it works now, but you can move them around and you could like put them in cupboards and stuff like that. So you could like you're spending so many time screen watching the other person, being like, "What? Where are they doing? Oh, they found that. Where are they going to put it?" But then you can't just spend all your time looking because you've got to be doing stuff. And then you could like fight one another when you found each other or something like that as well. But you could also place bombs. Like you could booby trap like certain things, so you could hide something somewhere, or like make the other player think you're hiding it there, and then be like, "Oh no, actually that's a bomb," and they didn't notice you bomb it, and then they go, "Ah, I saw him put this thing in there." They open it and it blows up. The reason I bring this up is because like this is obviously a very simple. Ah, it crashed. Womp womp. This is a simple idea, but it has a lot of potential. There's a lot of cool little things you can do with it. The problem with this as a way to introduce the concept as I already explained is that I don't have any context for what it means to get an item at the moment. Now it all makes perfect sense. And I know, and when you know, or when you're the person who made the game, or you've seen the game, it seems so obvious. But when I don't have that context of this is a top-down game, moving around, picking up things, yet, I don't know what this means. Okay? So you could actually come up with this game and then like almost a WarioWare style, just be like, complete 3 to win comes up here and a little picture of the map and tick 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 or something like that, and then that just disappears. And then just seeing the game the way it is just makes it immediately obvious. What is the idea, Matthew, behind the gems like flickering in and out the way they are doing? Is that intentional? Or is it just meant to be like the things are there and you're just meant to go and find it? Just to confuse you, right? Okay. Aesthetically, I don't think it works super well because it almost just looked a little bit glitchy and unintended. The way they just sort of disappear and reappear just sort of instantaneously like that. Otherwise, the art for them is quite nice. I like that some share colors and therefore like it could be quite easy to confuse this one for this one, for example. But I think maybe there's other things maybe you could do to hide them, like you are doing, like hiding them a little bit behind rocks. Maybe some of them are buried. Maybe you have to dig. That could be your spy versus spy thing. You could dig holes. Maybe you have to get them all and put them on a boat or something. I don't know. I don't know how you would like gather them all together or like confirm that once you're the last person to touch each one, you've won or something like that, and like have the player able to mix one another up in some way. I don't want to get into this specific. There's a lot to think about and work out exactly how it would work. But like, especially if there's something you can do with the fact that you're seeing little trails and stuff like that. You could maybe see where someone has dug. Maybe you could like do stuff to like mislead one another, and there could be a whole like bluffing game that you could build into this. Rather than as it stands, it's going to be limited to just being a test of running around, hoping you see the things you want in time, and then just sort of and grabbing them and hoping you happen to get them in the best order you can, you know? There's only so much you can optimize playing that and be better than that than the other player. It doesn't seem to want to. It doesn't like starting a second game. It's obviously going to be very limited for CPU play. So you like even like a good AI or whatever. Like it's only going to be so fun to play this kind of thing with. Obviously, right? This is designed to be a 1v1 thing. So what you want is to add a lot of depth and interesting stuff to that, right? It could get really. You could even like make a 4-player version of this kind of thing, right? Like a bigger island, places where you can like you hide things. How would that work? Because it's like you get the things. Say you could only carry one at a time. What would you need to do with them to win? If you could only carry one at a time. Get them on the boat? Maybe yeah. Maybe you have to get them on the boat, but you have to like, because you can only carry one at a time when they're on the boat, another player could just run on your boat and take them off the boat. So you've got to get them all close enough to the boat to get them all on really quickly or something. These are not well thought through ideas. They're just like, there's a lot that would go into that. I was just like, does that just become a weird like, tug-of-war thing there? But I think there's a lot of potential for making this a little bit more interesting. You can steal that treasure if you get too close to the other pirate. I set this guy to CPU, but he's not actually a CPU. Did I? Oh, okay, now he's CPUing a bit. Yeah, you said it doesn't work too well at the moment. That's fine. But not all your treasure always applies to the other guy. But stuff like that is a good idea. Being able to hit the other pirate in some way and like take things off them and stuff like that. Just make it a fun little scavenger game where as many little interactions as you can between the two players is really going to make something like this shine. And I love games like this, and you don't see them very often, so it would be cool to see some more things along that front. Artistically, I think it works really well. I think it's really consistent, really nice. So you have a limited field of vision, which I think kind of helps for the style of the game. I think don't be afraid to make the island a little bit bigger. I know you're probably thinking like, well, you don't have much vision, you want to learn the area and so on, but it's you've just kind of got a square and it's not that interesting. You know, you could make some like memorable little like biomes of it, so you can like maybe have a greener area and a gray area and a deserty area or something like that, and like because if they look different, you'll be able to sort of put it together in your head, like whereabouts you are on the island and stuff like that. I just thought of another thing you could do. Like, you could be finding bits of a map, and then when you've got the map, when you look at it, it shows you an X, and you just have to go there and dig for the treasure. But if you do it at the wrong time, someone else can see it, and they might get there before you. I don't know. This is a fun one to think creatively about. And anyway, that's stopped me just thinking endlessly of new mechanics for this. Artistically, it's nice, like I said. Let's just start it again. And let's find something to say other than artistically it looks nice. The controls are good. I like the feedback of just moving around on this is good. A little bit more feedback when you pick up a thing is probably good. There's just a little dink noise and the thing disappears. If you really like this like disappearing and reappearing thing, you probably want to do it with a little bit more subtlety. Maybe have them fade in and out. Little splashes when you walk in the water is neat as well. I think generally the bones here are solid, so I think it's just about getting the technology to work. So like obviously there's some bugs and stuff like that, and then just a little bit more feedback on things on when you actually engage with the important mechanical stuff. And then from there, just do a deep dive on testing with friends and finding new interesting little mechanics and ways to add depth and ways for the players to interact from one another. Luja steal a gem from red. Yeah, I'm sure that happens and so on, you know, and that's good. I want to see more of that kind of thing with clear feedback as well. Because if it just happens with a little dink noise and there's no like little animation or something like that happens, or sound effect that plays, or maybe some text even on the screen that pops up just says steal or whatever, then it happens, you know, like you want very clear feedback so that players understand all the rules. Even if it's a rule they're just being exposed to for the first time, you know, you want it to jump out and be like, oh, this is what happened! So it's all really, really clear. It's obviously going to be clear to you, you wrote the game, but you're not going to be there to tell people this is how all this works. There's no way I would have known that they can steal things from one another, even when it was happening. It was very subtlety, right? It took you to tell me. That's really kind of all I have to say about it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to ask about in particular, or anything specific you want to know. But honestly, like, all that's it's generally solid. It just needs, I think, more mechanical depth, more interaction between the players, and probably a lot more feedback, and so on. And the main visual thing that just lacks flair is these like disappearing gems, and I'm not sure that mechanic is super interesting either. Yeah, are you happy with that, or is there anything else you want to ask about this one? Made in 18 hours? Yeah, solid. Good job. Very good job. I say from this point, it's all about playtesting, which can be hard when it's a two-player thing because you need people to play it with. Especially, obviously, in our current situation, you're probably that's at best a limited number of people. First time making the art, and you're pretty happy. Yeah, nice. Yeah, generally pretty good job. Yeah, obviously, I say there are some bugs, but I'd worry less about the bugs and more on just prototyping and iterating and getting it and adding more stuff. I guess. I don't want to say it like that. More depth. That's what I want to say. Not more stuff, more depth, more deep quality, I guess. No problem. Thank you very much for the bits. Thank you for submitting that. It's fun to take a look at. It was very fun to think about because it got me thinking about this game and just you don't see a lot of games with that kind of interaction between the players anymore. I want to remind myself how all this works. You have to find all these things, get bombs. You had a gun and yeah, there's all sorts of things you could do. It was great. Played it with my brother a lot when I was young. It was really a lot of fun. Oh, we closed that, but this person's still streaming. We're gonna raid this person who has like 7 viewers. They're doing some game maker stuff. So everyone prepare your various Shaun J Poke emote. We're gonna dive in here, and that's gonna be me off. I'll be back next Friday. Maybe or maybe not with another. What's something for the point? Surgery links. Sure. Yeah, I'll maybe be back with. It's likely it'll be Feedback Friday again next Friday, but we might also do some Pokepoke development at some point. There's a new video up about the new 9 slice feature, so go check that out if you're a YouTube sub of mine. Most of you are, I presume. So that's out. That's really all I got. I think that's just going to be me. So we'll dive across to this guy. How do I do this again? Flash raid, Sheeny. Yeah, I don't know if I said that even slightly right. Enter. I cannot raid this channel. No, they've turned off. They turned off raiding. Well, we have to respect that. Maybe they don't want to be raided. Maybe we can find another one. Game maker, where are you at? Man, we found a game maker streamer. And they turn off raiding. No bueno. This was. It's almost like it could be game maker, like skinned, but I don't think it is. I'm gonna check it real quick while we continue to scroll. That's the one we just tried. That also might be. No, gosh, no idea what this is. Getting a kid involved, and it looks complex. This looks like the same thing. And also complex. I don't know the code and stuff like that. I want one on the Game Maker fam. That's Arcado. Game Maker nowadays looks too much like Visual Studio. It's hard. Might just Control F Game Maker. 1. Wherever we scroll to, I do not see a highlight anywhere. Oh, I might have probably just been there again, right? Yeah. One. Gen 2 streaming? He is not. Where are my Game Maker people? Where are you all at? Can I just search for Game Maker? Searching Twitch is hard. Where's channel names and stuff? I just want to find some technology. Game Maker or bust, man. We got a Game Maker user or we're not raiding anyone. We're losing raiders. They're disappearing. See you, Ristray. Thank you, the Great Duckiness. Let me search game. It doesn't show you active streams though, it just shows you like channel names and that. We need a tag. We need a Game Maker tag. Or we can go search programming. Game development. Oh, game development is a tag? Oh, of course it is, actually. I use that all the time. Game development. Science and technology. That might narrow it down a little bit. Game. It's hard to tell with the ones doing art because they might be using Game Maker as well. We don't know. Nobody. Screw it then. Nobody gets it. No. Game Maker or bust. No raid. When can we expect some new Twitch icons, Shaun? When somehow I find the time to do it. Sometimes I'll find the time to do it despite of my general business. I spent most of yesterday making that daft thing to make all my Patreon supporters fight to the death in a wizard battle royale. So sometimes I'll work it out. Did we get that? Yeah, we got the surgery link in the chat for Matthew. Yeah. Cool. I'm just gonna leave then. I'm just gonna flat leave. Screw it. Screw it. We support Game Maker or we support no one. Nah, I'll in future maybe I'll try and mooch about and find some other people who are maybe doing Godot or Unity or something like that. Maybe who are just doing a cool looking game. Something will pop over. But today I just don't feel like it. So we're just gonna leave it there. Thank you all very much for watching. Next Friday, sometime between 1 and 3 as usual. A new video is out on YouTube. You know all the things. Click all the things. Click all the buttons that will help me do this stuff more. And thank you again, Matthew, for the bonus submission, and thank you everyone else who submitted a game today as well. Very cool. See what? Yeah, pixel art raids. That's a good idea for next time. But you know what? No, I've decided we're not raiding anyone. Guys, I'll see you all next time. Cheers.